Chapter 205. I've pinned all my hopes on someone else. Sing Hui put down the jade talisman in his hand. He could not help but laugh when he recalled what he had done during this period of time. Since when had he become so naive? The only thing one could truly rely on was oneself. Only by strengthening oneself could one not stop. Thinking of this, Sing Hui looked at the jade talisman in his hand. He was already very grateful that exalted Zhu Zhao was willing to pass this jade talisman to him. He would not ask for anything more. After taking a look at the list of materials for the Torch Dragon bloodline, he called out, "Come in." Soon, the door was pushed open. However, it was Ling Yu who entered. "Young master, what are your orders?" Ling Yu bowed respectfully. "It's you? You don't have to do such a simple task, do you?" Sing Hui was a little surprised. Currently, the Life League's affairs have almost been settled. Although it is expanding continuously, it hasn't encountered any strong resistance. I don't have to go out in person. Since I have nothing to do, I simply came to your courtyard and stayed in the wing room. I want to see if you have any orders for me recently. Sing Hui looked at the respect in Ling Yu's eyes and thought of the jade talisman in his hand that belonged to exalted Zhu Zhao but was given to him by her. He vaguely understood something and did not dwell on it anymore. "All right, I need to collect some materials. Since you're the deputy leader of the Life Alliance, I'll leave this matter to you. The faster you collect them, the better. It's my honor to serve you, young master." Ling Yu stepped forward and handed over the list of materials respectfully. The list of materials that exalted Zhu Zhao gave to Sing Hui contained 3 types of supplementary materials for cultivation. 90% of the materials for the best type required odilic aura, and each set cost around 30 odilic aura. Moreover, it would take some time to collect them. As for the second type, although the ingredients required were precious, and the price wasn't inferior to a 6th-level divine weapon, it was still possible to gather them. The only problem was that it required a top-notch alchemist grandmaster to concoct the medicinal ingredients. Not only that, the medicinal ingredients required could only be used for a month, and the consumption rate was extremely high. As for the third, it was the most basic kind. It was not precious, and its effect was not significant. At most, it could double his cultivation speed. The only advantage was that it was easier to collect materials. Of course, the so-called easier was built on the premise that he was the Alliance Master of the Life League. If it had been Colored Glaze Island or Dragon Slaying Island, it would have taken at least a few years or even longer to collect these materials. There are a few items on this list that are extremely precious. I'm afraid you won't be able to obtain them through overseas channels. However, you can take this damaged rank 7 sword to the Vice Sect Master of the Green Lotus Sword Sect, Wenhui. I'll inform Wenhui. Even though this rank 7 sword is severely damaged, it still retains the power equivalent to a high-grade rank 5 sword. If it can be slightly repaired, it will become a rank 6 sword. I believe Wenhui won't refuse. Understood. Ling Yu knew that Sing Hui had a deal with Wenhui, so she wasn't surprised by his words. "I'll give you a month. Go." "Yes." Ling Yu quickly retreated. After Ling Yu left, Sing Hui continued to focus on the method of transforming vital energy into virtual energy. Reverend Purple Shao had once told him that even though his cultivation base had increased rapidly, his control over his own true qi was not worth mentioning, and he needed to practice more. In addition, Reverend Song Zhen had also specially mentioned this to him, so that he could consolidate his foundation and advance step by step. These two were invincible figures in the Saint Realm, so what they said naturally made sense. Even though cultivating the method of transforming vital energy into virtual energy did not increase his cultivation significantly, Sing Hui still cultivated diligently. Relying on his rank 6 recovery ability and rank 5 comprehension ability, his cultivation of the method of transforming vital energy into virtual energy progressed by leaps and bounds. A month passed by quickly. On this day, Sing Hui stood on a mountain peak on an island about 80 kilometers away from Shaoyangxi City. This island was originally owned by the master of Shaoyangxi City, Tinsha of Gojozian, Zhuishao. There was even a palace built on it for him to cultivate in seclusion. There were also hundreds of elite guards stationed around the island, so that no one would come to disturb him. However, now that Tsing Hui had become the leader of the Life League, the entire island naturally belonged to Tsing Hui. In the open space on a mountain peak, Tsing Hui took a deep breath and exhausted all the vital energy in his body once again. However, when his vital energy was completely exhausted and recovered, he was no longer in the spirit chi unification realm, but had fallen directly to the spirit refining realm. As he walked, sat, and even released his vital energy from time to time, without exception, it was exactly the same as a cultivator of the spirit chi unification realm. No one would be able to see that his vital energy contained within his vital energy. Moments later, his cultivation base of the Gang Chi realm continued to rise and rose to the late stage of the Divine Chi realm in one breath. Even after reaching the late stage of the Divine Chi realm, the aura on his body did not stop growing. He actually stepped into the door of the peak of the Divine Chi realm. Then he suddenly struck out. A violent heat wave burst out from his body and turned into a blazing golden crow shadow. When the golden crow shadow appeared, it was as though it was a living creature. It circled around him and continuously flew and cried. After a dozen breaths of time, it suddenly soared into the sky and exploded. The mighty and terrifying torrent endlessly spread out in all directions. The power contained within was enough to make any expert at the peak of the green hell realm pale. After using the attack that was equivalent to the peak of the spirit chi unification realm, Tsing Hui was slightly gasping for breath. I've finally reached the entry level of the vital energy transformation technique. The entry level of the vital energy transformation technique can control the vital energy in one's body and hide one's cultivation level. At the same time, it can also control the vital energy in one's body to release an attack that is one level higher than one's cultivation level. However, this kind of attack consumes too much energy. The energy consumption for the peak of the spirit chi unification realm is 10 times that of the late stage of the spirit chi unification realm. Tsing Hui felt that the vital energy in his body had been emptied and finally shook his head. Useless. Unless he had the confidence to defeat his opponent in an extremely short period of time, this ability was really useless. As long as his opponent avoided him slightly and did not tangle with him, he could easily exhaust him to death. Young Master is invincible. Just as Tsing Hui was lamenting the fact that the vital energy transformation technique was useless, a voice came from the horizon. Then he saw Ling Yu flying on her sword and quickly landing on the island. Congratulations, young master. Your cultivation level has improved greatly. I'm still far from improving my cultivation level. Tsing Hui's gaze fell on Ling Yu as he spoke. Have you gathered the materials? Yes, I have. Good. With that, Tsing Hui headed straight for the palace. There was a side hall on one side of the palace. Tsing Hui had already converted this side hall into an alchemy room. However, this alchemy room was very ordinary in terms of furnaces, fuel, and layout. Even a level 4 alchemist would have to make do with it, let alone a level 5, level 6, or even level 7 alchemist. Young master, I've carefully looked through the list of materials. There are many level 7 herbs in it. Are you trying to refine level 6 herbs? But the Life League doesn't have a level 6 alchemist. We don't even have a level 5 alchemist. Ling Yu was confused. Tsing Hui glanced at Ling Yu. As a son of chaos, don't you know that there's an ability called Divine Protection at level 15? Divine Protection? Ling Yu was slightly stunned. Then her eyes widened. Divine Protection? Young master, you're actually... I trust that you won't tell anyone about this. Ling Yu was shocked. She quickly swore, Don't worry, young master. I won't tell anyone about this. If I do, I'll be destroyed by the heavens. Okay. Tsing Hui had already guessed that Ling Yu must have been warned by esteemed Zhu Zhao. That was why her attitude had changed so drastically in just a month. Therefore, he didn't hide anything from her. Moreover, he had asked Ling Yu to gather these materials. Ling Yu would be able to guess it herself after he finished refining the herbs. Tsing Hui stepped forward and started the alchemy furnace. According to the recipe, he threw in all the materials that Ling Yu had gathered. There was no fire control, no order, and no pharmacology. It was just that simple and violent. After placing all the ingredients into the cauldron at once, Su directly activated the divine blessing technique. A mysterious energy immediately poured into the cauldron, automatically adjusting the medicinal properties of the ingredients. At the same time, it changed the properties of its own energy, neutralizing the effects of the ingredients. In less than 3 hours, a set of golden amber-like ingredients had appeared before him. Divine protection. It really is divine protection. Lingyu took a deep breath. As a son of chaos, she knew very well how terrifying a high-level son of chaos was. Every characteristic could increase a son of chaos cultivation by leaps and bounds. Disregarding everything else, just the most basic comprehension, recovery, and so on were enough to turn a mediocre person into a genius and attract the attention of the 10 sacred sects. This was also why sons of chaos were constantly hunted down and why chaos cultivation arts were so valuable. A level 15 son of chaos, his potential was almost indescribable. It was only now that Lingyu truly understood why Xing Hui was able to keep her under him time and time again. At this thought, her respect for Xing Hui, which was originally only because of esteemed Zhu Zhao, changed instantly. Working for a level 15 son of chaos, perhaps this might not be a bad thing. It's done. Xing Hui ignored the changes in Ling Yu's emotions. Looking at the herbs that cost no less than 3 level 6 god weapons, he heaved a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. I hope this cultivation-aiding medicine can help me improve my cultivation of the Illuminating Sun Sutra. This medicine is equivalent to level 7. It will definitely help you improve your cultivation greatly. Lingyu said respectfully. Xing Hui nodded. I'm going into seclusion for a few months. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. Understood. Chapter 206. The time spent in seclusion this time was much longer than Xing Hui had expected. He had thought that 2 to 3 months would be enough to refine this medicine and allow the cultivation of the Torch Sun Sutra to catch up with the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. But he had obviously overestimated the effect of this medicine. Or rather, he had underestimated the difficulty of cultivating the Torch Dragon bloodline. 6 months. It took him half a year to absorb all the medicinal efficacy of the medicine. Then, he managed to push the cultivation of the Candle Sun Sutra to the 4th level, which was the same level as the Great Sun Golden Crow spell. This was because he had obtained the inheritance of the Torch Sun Sutra and did not encounter any difficulties in cultivating the Torch Sun Sutra. Compared to cultivating the Great Sun Golden Crow spell on the core of the Great Sun, this speed was much slower than cultivating it. Especially, the Torch Sun Sutra, which was also at the 4th stage, was obviously inferior to the Great Sun Golden Crow technique in terms of overall increase. Looking at the extremely slow increase in attributes, he even suspected that the Torch Dragon was the weakest among all the divine beasts except for the Qilin and other auspicious beasts. Time. It has been almost 4 years. Xing Hui stood on the square of the island palace and looked at the endless sea in front of him. A trace of pain flashed across his eyes. Almost 4 years. He had only cultivated to the realm of the unity of spirit and qi. And to reach the realm of the shattering vacuum like Dongxian, there was still the realm of the sage in front of him. No matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to cross this realm in the next 6 years. If this trend continued, perhaps it would be 100 years later when he really returned to Earth. At that time, those people he was close to, his parents, his family and friends, and the lovely person who was waiting for him, they had already turned into dust and drifted away with the wind. Qing Su split a portion of his consciousness and glanced at his chaotic grade. 24th stage. Compared to the 22nd level half a year ago, his chaos level had increased by 2 levels. During these 2 levels, he had increased his personal space from the 3rd level to the 5th level. He was preparing to collect Taoist rhymes with the incarnation technique when he reached the 25th level. But these were of no use to him, cultivating to the realm of the shattering vacuum and finding Gu Xinjuan's cave residence. After a long time, Xing Hui sighed and pulled himself together. Mastering vacuum shattering in 10 years is already an extravagant hope. Next, I can only place my hopes on the teleportation technique that will be born when I reach level 30 of chaos. This teleportation technique is said to be able to teleport me to any place I've been to before. Then, there's hope for me to teleport back directly. The only problem was the range of the one world mentioned in the description of the teleportation spell. A world? What was the concept of a world? Was it a world or a star? These Qing Su would only be able to find the answer after he reached the 30th level of primal chaos. Alliance Master! Alliance Master! Right at this moment, Ling Yu and Zhua Xiao arrived at the same time with hurried expressions. Alliance Master, the Blood WYRM King sent an envoy to see you. Blood WYRM King? Xing Hui was slightly taken aback. Why is the Blood WYRM King here? Over the past half a year, our Life Moon Alliance has been unstoppable, and our scale of development is like the sun in the midday sky. We first defeated the heavenly demon cult inland, then occupied the Great Mogu Strait. Then we advanced step by step towards the outer sea, taking down the Maha cult first, and then Conch Island. Apart from that, our dragon-slaying island has also achieved remarkable results horizontally. Currently, we've expanded horizontally by 30,000 kilometers. Among the many overseas forces, our Life Moon Alliance could be considered a behemoth, and we vaguely threaten the forces under the Blood WYRM King's rule. The Blood WYRM King has sent an emissary, claiming that he wants to bring our Life Moon Alliance under his rule. Verbally threatening? What kind of threat? The Blood WYRM King's envoy has declared that if the Life Moon Alliance is unwilling to submit to the Blood WYRM King, the Blood WYRM King will personally lead his champions to invade the Life Moon Alliance and capture the Alliance Masters and enslave them. Personally, Xing Hui did not look panicked at all. With the Blood WRM King and Lord Zhenhai's power and influence, they would definitely be treated well if they were willing to join a holy sect. Even so, they would rather stay close to the outer seas than submit to the 10 holy sects. Clearly, they were equally ambitious and had the intention of unifying the overseas factions, which was why he was already mentally prepared to face off against the two overlords when he took the first step towards unifying the overseas factions. Alliance Master, what should we do next? Since the Blood WYRM King has decided to shed all pretense of cordiality and officially declare war on the Life Moon Alliance, what else is there to consider? Just kick his envoy out. If the Blood WYRM King wants to come, then come. Alliance Master, that's the Blood WYRM King we're talking about. It said that he had broken through from Green Netherworld mid-stage to Green Netherworld late stage 10 years ago, and with his identity as a high-ranking son of Chaos, ordinary prominent divine elites might not be his match if they don't manifest their battle constitution. Once we take down his envoy and completely offend him, I'm afraid they won't let it go. Once the Blood WYRM King comes, no one in the Life Moon Alliance will be his match. Zhua Xiao said anxiously. The Blood WYRM King and King Zhenhai were two of the most terrifying giants overseas. Even those as powerful as the 10 sacred sects had destroyed their forces and banished them to the outer sea, but they had never truly killed them, which showed how powerful they were. Although Zhua Xiao was famous on the Divine Dragon roll, he still felt fear from the bottom of his heart when the two were mentioned. The Blood Flood Dragon King's power has long been destroyed, and he's been struggling to survive in the regions near the outer sea. Perhaps he's extremely powerful, but in terms of power, he can't compare to our Life League, which has already subdued Heavenly Devil Cult Master Maha, and Zuluo Holy Mother. As for the Blood Flood Dragon King himself, his power is built on the foundation of his sacred technique, and without it, he's just an ordinary cultivator in the late stage of Green Hell Realm. Xing Hui turned his gaze to Ling Yu. If you fight the Blood WYRM King, can you stall for time until he uses the sacred art? Ling Yu thought about it carefully and gritted her teeth. I'm willing to do my best. Then it's fine. Sing Hui said calmly, if the blood WRM king really attacks in full force, Ling Yu and I will take care of him, while the others will take care of the many experts he brought with him. Now that the Life Moon Alliance has recruited so many unity of spirit and chi and green netherworld realm experts, I don't believe that we can't even defeat the cultivators under the blood WYRM king who suffered heavy casualties from the 10 sacred sects. This, although with Shao felt that Sing Hui must be extraordinary to be able to subdue someone like Ling Yu. He had never seen Sing Hui in action. He didn't know the Alliance leader's specific strength, so he could only look at Ling Yu when he heard what Zhou Shao said. Since young master has made up his mind, then let's do as you say. A blood WYRM king who has been exiled to the outer sea can't do anything. Ling Yu glared at Zhou Shao and said in a low voice. However, if we really go to war with the blood WYRM king, I'm afraid it will cause panic. After all, the blood WYRM king has been an overlord in the outer sea for many years. Many people grew up under the influence of the blood WYRM king when they came to the outer sea. This is something you need to think about. Sing Hui said, young master, I will deal with this personally. If anyone dares to betray the Life Moon Alliance at this time, we will make them pay the price. Ling Yu bowed and said. Sing Hui nodded go. Also, how is the collection of Dao carrying items that I asked you to do? The message has been passed down. Currently, we have collected some. There are 3 Dao carrying items that contain 5 points of Dao carrying items. Only 3? Sing Hui frowned. The Life Moon Alliance was quite powerful now, but they only obtained 5 points of Dao carrying items after half a year. It should be known that cultivators who had reached the realm of spirit and chi, as one would more or less know the value of Dao carrying items. Once they found one, they would treat it as a treasure and store it away. Now that he had given the order to collect Dao carrying items, it was reasonable to say that he should be able to collect a lot of them on his first try. After a while, Sing Hui thought for a while and said, pass down my order. Any cultivator can bring in Dao carrying item that contains Dao carrying items to me for exchange. 1 Dao carrying item can be exchanged for a lower level 5 divine weapon or something of the same value. As long as they have enough Dao carrying items, I can exchange them for upper level 5 and level 6 divine weapons. Level 5 divine weapons. Ling Yu was shocked and hurriedly said, young master, even in some of the secret transactions in the eastern wilderness, 1 Dao carrying item is not enough to exchange for a level 5 divine weapon. If you feel that the collection of Dao carrying items is too slow, or if you think that someone is hiding Dao carrying items, I am willing to help you search the islands one by one and find all the Dao carrying items they have. The world is so big. How long will it take for you to search the islands one by one? Moreover, once they have the intention to hide, it will undoubtedly be more difficult for you to find the Dao carrying items. Therefore, it is better to let them take it out willingly. Sing Hui said and waved his hand. All right, I made up my mind. It is decided. After he had the incarnation technique, the first place he planned to go to was Tianwang. He only needed to go to Tianwang to purchase a large number of level 5 divine weapons and resell them. Immediately, he would make 100 times or even 100 times the profit. Therefore, as long as he could get enough Dao carrying items at this price, he did not mind paying some divine weapons. Ling Yu heard the unquestionable tone in Qing Su's voice, so she had no choice but to change the subject. Young master, our Life Alliance doesn't have the power to stand up to the 10 sacred sects right now. If the cultivators of the 10 sacred sects learn that we've been collecting treasures that can carry the way of cultivation, they'll probably attack us before we can fully mature. What you said is indeed a problem. After hearing this, Sing Hui thought for a while and said, then let's do this within the Life League for the time being. Try to hide the news as much as possible. As long as we wait for 3 to 5 years, I will have a way to solve this problem. Yes, usually, ordinary Taoist aura can only be exchanged for an upper grade tier 4 or even a middle grade tier 4 divine weapon. Now, young master is willing to offer a low grade tier 5 divine weapon. I will treat this as a benefit of our Life League and pass down the order. I believe those elders and island masters who really have collections will fight to exchange for it. Chapter 207. Outer Sea. A burly man in blood-red scale armor stood on a square near the sea. He stared down at the boundless sea from above as cruelty filled his eyes. His scarlet cape constantly fluttered in the sea breeze, dyeing the space around him blood-red. Any cultivator who had lived overseas for a long time would be able to recognize this red-scaled man as soon as they saw him. He was the overlord who had almost unified the overseas forces back then. He was a top existence who had cultivated to the late stage of the Green Hell realm, the high-level son of Chaos, Blood Dragon King. Did he really say that? There was a cold light in the Blood Dragon King's eyes, and he was emitting a murderous aura. I don't dare to hide anything. The leader of the Life Alliance really doesn't respect you at all. He even boasted shamelessly. He said that if you want to start a war, you could just fight. The Life Alliance isn't afraid at all behind the Blood Dragon King. An elder who was in the unification of divine energy realm knelt on the ground with fear. He looked furious, not afraid at all. The coldness in the Blood Dragon King's eyes intensified. It seems that I have been in the outer sea for too long. The cultivators in the sea have forgotten how terrifying I am. My king, the entire Life Alliance, is arrogant and condescending. They dare to challenge your authority. They're simply unpardonable. My king, you must send your troops to the inner sea and destroy the Life Alliance. You must let the Life Alliance know who is the real overlord of the sea. It's about time. We have left the inner sea for too long. It's time for the inner sea to be famous again. Let's start the war with the Life Alliance, the Blood Dragon King said calmly. However, behind his calm tone, there was no doubt that he was announcing that a bloodbath was about to happen. My king is wise. Once the king arrives, the entire Life Alliance will be bathed in blood. The elder who was kneeling behind the Blood Dragon King thought about how he would be able to pay for the humiliation he had suffered in the Life Alliance. He couldn't help but be excited. Go and gather. The Blood WIRM King responded faintly. He was about to order his subordinates to gather, but before he finished speaking, he seemed to have noticed something, and his pupils suddenly shrank. The old man waited for a moment, but he did not receive the king's real order. He felt a little strange. Just as he was about to raise his head and ask, a soft rumble gradually sounded, causing the huge island built in the sea to tremble slightly. When the old man mustered up his courage and raised his head to look in the direction of the sound, his eyes suddenly widened as he stared at the sea at the end of the horizon. Over there, a layer of white lines was surging over with an extremely terrifying pressure. Its momentum was so great that it almost swept through the entire sea region within a radius of 1,000 kilometers. This is quick. Quickly pass down the order to pack up everything and retreat. Retreat. The Blood WIRM King's furious voice suddenly rang out and swept through the entire island. At the same time, the alarm of the tsunami was sounded above the island. Everyone on the island moved and evacuated quickly. Countless precious resources were moved onto the battleships that were docked at the island spaceport. In an instant, the entire island was in a mess. Just as everyone on the island was terrified, the layer of white lines in the horizon was approaching rapidly. When the layer of white lines was at the end of the horizon, no horrifying changes could be seen. However, as it continued to approach, everyone on the island was horrified to discover that it was a terrifying tsunami that was a few thousand meters tall. The tsunami swept across and engulfed an unknown amount of seawater. The terrifying and majestic force was mighty and mighty. A few islands not far away from this island were easily crushed by the tsunami like a small boat. Tsunami. How can there be such a huge tsunami? At that moment, more than a dozen figures had gathered behind the Blood WIRM King. Every one of them was at least at the divine energy unification realm. The three people whom the Blood WIRM King regarded as his left and right arms had all reached the green darkness realm without exception. This isn't an ordinary tsunami. It's The blood WYRM king widened his eyes and stared at the center of the tsunami. There was a huge object that looked like a millstone. It had a diameter of over 100 meters and was riding the sea. In this vast ocean, boundless ferociousness was stirred up. Xuanwu, Saint Beast Xuanwu, Xuanwu, Saint Beast Xuanwu, one of the six saints. The experts behind the blood WYRM king couldn't help but panic when they heard the blood WYRM king's words. Even Xuanwu, one of the six saints, probably can't set off such a huge tsunami in the sea. If I'm not wrong, this tsunami's range is probably over 1,000 kilometers. A tsunami that's over 1,000 kilometers long and a huge wave that's thousands of meters high is sweeping over. Even if we Green Darkness Realm experts encounter such a mighty force of heaven and earth, we can only retreat. An ordinary Xuanwu naturally can't set off such a terrifying tsunami. But what about Xuanwu at the Saint Realm? What about Xuanwu at the second level of the Saint Realm? No, this Xuanwu has obviously become even more terrifying. To set off such a huge commotion, it's very likely that it has grown to the third level of the Saint Realm, which is the level 9 Saint Beast. The blood WYRM king's voice trembled slightly, and there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Level 9 Saint Beast. This number stunned the Spirit and Chi Uniting Realm and Green Darkness Realm experts behind the blood WYRM king. A level 9 Saint Beast was equivalent to a level 9 Saint Beast at the third level of the Saint Realm. Once this Saint Beast came ashore, it wouldn't be an exaggeration even if it destroyed the Saint sect. It's a 9th order Saint Beast. Why isn't it dominating the outer seas? Why is it coming to our land? Even in the outer sea, such an existence would be considered one of the top existences. My king, you said that this Xuanwu was originally only at level 8. Could it be? A Green Darkness Realm expert who had been following behind the blood WYRM king seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed instantly. Tianpeng, you're right. If I'm not wrong, it's that Xuanwu. That Xuanwu. The Green Darkness Realm expert, who was called Tianpeng, had a slight change in expression. If I'm not wrong, that Xuanwu should be living in the outer sea near the Shaoyang Ocean City. It's that ocean region, the blood WRM king said with a cold smile. Currently, the Shaoyang Ocean City has changed its name to the Life League, and the Life League has occupied the entire ocean region. They even killed many level 5 small-scale overlords. I'd like to know how the people of the Life League are going to react when this Xuanwu Saint Beast rolls towards the Life League with torrential waves. The Life League dares to offend my king. God wants to annihilate them. An elder who was at the Spirit and Chi Uniting Realm immediately flattered the blood WYRM king. The blood WYRM king nodded, and there was a tinge of regret in his eyes. I'm afraid that after the tsunami, the foundation that we built with great difficulty will be destroyed. The ocean region is the world of the sea beasts. It's even more so for the ocean region near the outer sea. A Green Darkness Realm expert behind the blood WYRM king was a little sad. Even though he had cultivated to the Green Darkness Realm and was considered a top-notch figure in the Eastern Wilderness, he still felt insignificant when facing the endless sea beasts near the outer sea. We've already sent our precious items to the battleships. Even if our foundation is destroyed, we can rebuild it in half a year. It's not considered a great loss. When we attack the Life League, we can even make the Life League spit out all the resources that we use to rebuild the Hall of Blood and pass the loss to them. All right, the tsunami is here. Let's go. The blood WYRM king looked at the approaching terrifying tsunami that had already covered the sky. He sighed and took out a saintly winged golden rock. Then, the elites under the blood WRM king boarded the saintly winged golden rock together with the dozens of battleships and soared into the sky at the same time. Less than half an hour after they soared into the sky, the terrifying tsunami finally pounced on the huge island that was hundreds of kilometers in diameter. Strictly speaking, the island could be considered a small continent. However, in front of the terrifying tsunami, it did not have the ability to stop the tsunami at all. It was easily crushed. Endless seawater flooded the island, turning everything on the island into dust and sinking the island into the ocean. As the tsunami submerged the island, the Blood Wyrm King and the rest then looked at the sacred beast Xuanwu in the middle of the tsunami. It was not considered huge, but had endless divine power. One of the 6 saints, the Water Dominator. This was the sacred beast Xuanwu's ability to control water. In the ocean, a sacred beast Xuanwu even dared to fight the divine beast Qilin and even won. The family business that we worked so hard to build up over the past few decades is all destroyed. The reason for the destruction is not because we offended a sacred beast, but because this sacred beast swept through the tsunami and passed by our island. Spiritual Master Tian Peng sighed as he looked at the terrifying tsunami below. The ocean is the world of sea beasts after all. Another green Netherworld realm powerhouse sighed as well. However, when the Blood Wyrm King led the green Netherworld realm powerhouses and the divine Shi Unification realm powerhouses to sit on the saintly winged golden rock and battleships and observe the sacred beast Xuanwu that swept through the tsunami below, the Xuanwu seemed to be dissatisfied with the human sitting on top of its head and pointing at it. As it raised its huge head high, vitality, Qi gathered in the void in the next moment. Endless dark clouds suddenly rolled over. Not long after, thunderclouds formed in the void above their heads. It looked like it was in a form of storm or even a thunderstorm. Oh no! Quick! Leave this ocean. Controlling the weather. This is the sacred beast Xuanwu's power to control the weather. Let's go. Let's leave this place. The saintly winged golden rock of the Blood Wyrm King and the dozens of battleships were in a mess. They hurriedly tried to escape from the Xuanwu's location. However, the Xuanwu's ability to control the weather was too shocking. Not long after, in less than 10 breaths, thunderclouds formed and torrential rain poured down. Strong gales blew the battleships left and right. Then, bolts of lightning descended and struck the battleships. Along with the rumbling, the battleships burst into flames and exploded. They were like meteors that fell into the ocean. It was foreseeable that other than a few divine Shi Unification realm elders who occasionally had flying swords and green Netherworld realm powerhouses who could fly on their own, the rest of the people would not be able to survive the tsunami. For a moment, the Blood Wyrm King and the others on the saintly winged golden rock wanted to cry, but had no tears. Chapter 208. Tsinghui had no idea about the great changes in the sea. At this time, he had already appeared in the Sky Dome realm in the Primal Chaos Divine Palace. In the past half a year, Tsinghui had looked for Zhongjin more than once, wanting to trade for a drop of Phoenix blood essence from him. However, Zhongjin seemed to be out all the time. Tsinghui had asked to see Zhongjin several times, but he did not see Zhongjin in person. Tsinghui could no longer wait patiently. Pak Hui, just as Tsinghui was looking for Zhongjin again, Nail-in-Face suddenly invited him into her personal space. What's the matter? You're still overseas. I heard that you've established a life league overseas, and it's quite powerful. It has already caught the attention of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's higher-ups. You have to be careful. If you really want to develop it, try to develop it in the sea as much as possible. Oh? Is the Hunyuan Heaven Sect planning to make a move on the Life League? Not to that extent. Although the Life League's power is not weak, it has not reached the level where the Hunyuan Heaven Sect will pay attention to it. Hearing this, Tsinghui nodded. Shaoyang Sea City is located in the sea region closest to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, followed by the Jinwu religion, and then the Green Lotus Sword Sect. As long as the Hunyuan Heaven Sect and the Jinwu religion don't plan to make a move on the Life League for the time being, the Life League won't be in too much danger. Nail-in-Fei nodded. I didn't expect you to be able to establish such a huge foundation overseas in just a few years. Tsinghui smiled, and then his gaze fell on Nail-in-Fei. Your cultivation should be at the peak of the spirit refining realm now, right? My cultivation of Earth Qi has reached perfection half a year ago. In the past half a year, I have been polishing my Earth Qi, hoping to merge my spirit and Earth Qi as soon as possible and step into the Spirit Chi Unity realm. If I can reach the Spirit Chi Unity realm, I will be able to establish my own mountain and recruit forces. Then, with my Saint rank, Earth Chi Foundation, and Primal Chaos realm, I might have a chance to compete with the Holy Sun Jiesu and the other Vice Sect Masters for the Sect Master's throne. Oh, Sing Hui glanced at Nalan Fei and couldn't help but feel moved. At present, the biggest threat to the Life Moon Alliance that I have established is actually the 10 sacred sections. Among the 10 sacred sects, the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, the Jin Wu religion, and the Green Lotus Sword Sect are the 3 sacred sects closest to us. Among the 3 sacred sects, I can deal with the Green Lotus Sword Sect, but the Jin Wu religion is currently being suppressed by the Create Evolve Mysterious Sect. The biggest threat is the second-ranked Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Not only is the Hunyuan Heaven Sect the closest to our Life Moon Alliance, it is also the strongest among the 3 sacred sections. If you can really break through to the Spirit Chi Unity realm in a short period of time and become a peak master, bringing our Life Moon Alliance into your sphere of influence, the Hunyuan Heaven Sect won't be able to easily make a move on our Life Moon Alliance, and the threat of the Life Moon Alliance from the mainland will be almost completely eliminated. That's right, I also have this idea. However, my cultivation is currently blocked. According to my calculations, without external help, it will take at least 3 to 5 years to reach the Spirit Chi Unity realm. If there are any delays along the way, it will take even longer. Based on the Life Moon Alliance's development speed, the Hunyuan Heaven Sect may not be able to make a move on you in 3 to 5 years, so Nalan Fei glanced at Ching Su. After a moment of hesitation, she still said, I know of a place with a god artifact. If I can retrieve that god artifact and obtain its assistance, I'll definitely be able to reach the realm where the spirit and chi fuse as one. Divine object? Nalan Fei nodded. This divine object belongs to Bei Xiao. Moreover, according to the last words Bei Xiao left behind and the matter of him being attacked, he went out with a group of people to excavate an ancient cave and obtain this divine object in the cave. It's extremely likely that he was immediately killed because he obtained this divine object, to the extent that he couldn't even escape. It's an object left behind by Bei Xiao. Sing Hui was shocked. Although Bei Xiao's status in the Sky Dome Empire couldn't be compared to Songjun, Zhu Zhao, and Song Qiong, he was still one of the higher-ups in the Sky Dome Empire and was an almighty who had cultivated a remarkable ability. What kind of divine item would actually bring a fatal disaster to such a pinnacle expert? That's right, it's this item. However, there's a restriction on this divine item. Even though this restriction was hastily left behind by Bei Xiao before he died, one would at least have the strength of a Saint Stage expert if one wants to break it. Simply put, one's attack would at least have the strength of a Saint Stage expert who has manifested his Saint body. The attack of a prominent divine expert manifesting his divine body. Tsing Hui thought of the attack that Xuanyangzi had unleashed with the Fire Shell sacred body, and his face couldn't help but turn serious. Although the attack I unleashed with all my strength can reach the longevity 6th level, compared to the attack of a Saint expert, it's still a little lacking. It's fine. 3 months ago, Xiatian had already broken through to the prominent Saint realm. Although it's a pity that he didn't manage to condense divine true essence. The true essence that he cultivated is one of the best among the divine true essence. In the future, he might be able to cultivate his true essence back to the divine true essence. Taking advantage of Xiatian's breakthrough, I asked him to help me make a jade talisman. This jade talisman is made with blue orchid jade as the foundation, and he, a prominent saint expert who cultivated divine true essence, used all his strength to make it. The power contained within is not inferior to an attack of a prominent saint expert. Last time, he asked a merchant to send it to me. I think it's enough to break the restriction left behind by Bei Xiao. Ask someone to send it. It wasn't easy to ask someone to bring an item from Heaven Wasteland to Eastern Wasteland, and the cost wasn't small. However, considering that Xiatian seemed to be chasing after Nalan Fei, Tsing Hui didn't doubt his actions and nodded slightly. You mean, The attack of a prominent saint expert is too big, and the place where Bei Shao left the restriction is close to a branch of the Jinwu religion. Once it's used, the huge commotion will definitely attract people from the Jinwu religion. For safety's sake, the two of us will go together. When the time comes, I'll need you to delay the Jinwu religion for me. I hope that we can use that divine item to exchange for resources that are useful for our cultivation. Sure, when do we leave? The key is up to you, Life Alliance leader, Cho Tsinghui. You're a busy person now, Nailin Fei said with a smile. Tsinghui thought about it carefully. Currently, the only troublesome thing in the Life Alliance was the Blood WIRM King. However, the Life Alliance wasn't an ordinary power. Even if the Blood WIRM King wanted to start an all-out war with the Life Alliance, he wouldn't immediately attack. No matter what, he would have to delay for 1 or 2 months. At that time, he should be able to return from the inland. I'll make some preparations and leave tonight. That's good. The restriction is at Firecloud Mountain. We'll meet at Cloud Mountain town outside of Firecloud Mountain. Tsinghui nodded. After the discussion, Tsinghui didn't waste any more time. He directly summoned Ling Yu and the others and gave them orders. Fortunately, although he was the leader of the Life Alliance, he wasn't really in charge of the specific matters in the Life Alliance. In addition, Ling Yu was completely loyal to him and didn't dare to be disloyal. This allowed him to be completely at ease with the Life Alliance's matters. Due to the secrecy of the matter, Tsinghui didn't bring Dan Tating or Madame Zhuyu this time. Instead, he rode the Saint-winged Draconic Eagle alone and headed towards the inland at full speed. He was also very curious. What was so mysterious about the item that Bei Shao called a divine item? Moreover, what kind of divine item was it that would make the unknown expert risk offending the entire Celestial Dome realm and kill Bei Shao just to take it for himself? Compared to the overseas, the inland was many times more prosperous. For example, in the sea, it was often hundreds, thousands, or even thousands of miles away, and sometimes there wouldn't be a single human island. However, in the inland, there would be signs of human habitation within 100 miles. This kind of prosperous and glorious phenomenon established the Eastern Wilderness as the overlord of the human race. Even the extremely powerful spirit beasts and sacred beasts had to flee into the mountains to avoid being targeted and killed by human cultivators. However, although the inland was extremely prosperous, the overall cultivation level was a level lower than that of the overseas. Due to the long period of peace and the absence of the threat of sea beasts, the cultivation atmosphere in the inland was not flourishing. This could be seen from the cloud-desolate city and the Lorraine Kingdom where Tsinghui was born. Although the policies implemented by the Jinwu religion were stricter than those of the Hunyuan heavenly sect, Tsinghui still rarely saw cultivators above the awakening stage. Often, those small towns could be considered famous if there were more than a dozen blood-changing stage mortals in charge. This kind of phenomenon didn't change until he stepped into the territory of the Jinwu religion branch. The number of cultivators increased significantly, but Tsinghui, who lived in the Life League all year round, didn't feel much. After all, in the Life League, no one who could come into contact with him was below the true Qi stage. Tsinghui, you're here. It's only been 8 days, but you're much faster than I expected. In a small rented courtyard in Cloud Town, Nailin Fei welcomed Tsinghui in. By a stroke of luck, I obtained a flying treasure. That's why I was able to travel day and night to reach the inland so quickly. As Tsinghui spoke, he glanced at the courtyard. It won't arouse the suspicion of others, right? It won't go that far. The owner of this courtyard is a subordinate of a Chamber of Commerce's president. He doesn't know my specific identity. Tsinghui nodded. Where's the location of the restriction? It's Firecloud Mountain. The real problem is that the location of the restriction is only 60 kilometers away from the Jinwu religion branch. 60 kilometers? Tsinghui was slightly surprised. According to Nailin Fei, in order to break the restriction, she had to use the Jade Talisman with all her strength, which was equivalent to an attack from a prominent divine expert. And an attack from a prominent divine expert would cause a disturbance within 100 kilometers. If it was someone with sharp senses, they would be able to detect it within 300 kilometers. 60 kilometers meant that the Jin Wu religion's people would definitely be able to detect it. My Jin Wu religion's branch leader is equivalent to the Hunyuan heavenly sect's peak master. The strength of a branch leader should be at the spirit and chi unification stage. With my strength, it's more than enough to deal with him. If he doesn't know what's good for him, I don't even mind flattening the branch. Sing Hui said, "You can't." Nailin Fei hurriedly stopped him. If it was an ordinary branch leader, I would have a way to deal with him. But Qi Lang is different. He is a saint-rank astral Qi cultivator and is currently at the pinnacle of the spirit and Qi unification stage. Moreover, he is the grandson of the Jin Wu religion's second supreme elder, Qi Shao. Qi Shao has high hopes for Qi Lang to be nurtured to compete for the position of the Jin Wu religion sect leader. This point can be seen from the vitality under his rule. The average level of cultivators is much higher than other places. In this branch, other than him, there are more than 10 spirit refining cultivators and 2 spirit and Qi unification stage cultivators. What's even more helpless is that there is a peak expert hidden in the dark in charge of protecting Qi Lang. This Qingming expert is Qi Zhao's follower, and his cultivation is unfathomable. He is at least at the Qingming realm. This is the main reason why I need your help to stop them. Chapter 209. Qingming Realm. If it was only Qingming Realm, Sing Hui was not afraid. Even if it was an immortal realm level 6 or prominent divine realm expert, as long as they did not reveal their divine body, Sing Hui could rely on the Yang devouring bead to fight them. I will take care of the cultivators of this branch. Okay, Nailin Fei said. You must be tired from the journey. Let's rest for a night and set off tomorrow morning. No need. I came here on the holy winged dragon eagle and did not spend much energy. To avoid any more trouble, let's take out the divine item as soon as possible. Okay, let's do as you say. After Nailin Fei finished speaking, the two of them left the courtyard and headed towards Mount Fire Cloud. Mount Cloud was at the foot of Mount Fire Cloud. The two of them flew on their swords and stopped in a forest that was not too dense after 30 minutes. The supreme divine object that Senior Bei Shao spoke of wouldn't be in this small forest, right? Could it be a mistake? It is here. As Nailin Fei spoke, she walked directly towards the small forest. When Sing Hui followed Nailin Fei to the forest, he did not know why, but he felt that there was nothing special about the forest. There seemed to be an invisible voice that was influencing him not to waste time in the forest and to go somewhere else. After a while, Sing Hui seemed to realize something and suddenly woke up. This forest, you can see it? Nailin Fei faintly smiled. This little forest is enveloped by that seal. As for this seal, other than protecting this little forest, its greatest use is to influence others, causing them to unknowingly shift their attention away from this little forest. It is really magical. After getting Nailin Fei's confirmation, Sing Hui could not help but praise in his heart. Even now, when I walk towards the forest, I still feel that there is nothing special about it. It is a waste of time to continue exploring. If someone did not know, they would have left long ago. These restrictions and formations cannot be measured by ordinary thinking. In fact, formations and restrictions are just a kind of use of the power of heaven and earth. The simplest point is to put a chopstick in water. The length of the chopstick you see and the actual length will be different. The restriction in front of us is the same, but one is simply for visual effects, while the other can interfere with people's thinking and mislead people's judgment. After Nailin Fei finished speaking, she took out a talisman that was emitting a strong spirituality. On this talisman, Sing Hui could clearly feel the terrifying power contained in it. This talisman's spirituality is much stronger than ordinary talismans. Sing Hui looked at the talisman in Nailin Fei's hand and felt a little strange. Of course, this talisman was made by Xia Tian with a lot of blood essence, and the material used is the 8th grade Kanglin Jade Crystal. Naturally, it is not comparable to ordinary talismans. You should know that in order to buy this Kanglin Jade Crystal with excellent bearing effects, I spent a little tower rhyme. Sing Hui nodded slightly. Xia Tian was just a cultivator who had just entered the saint realm. If he did not use special methods, the talisman he refined would not have the power of an ordinary saint realm expert, even if he used precious materials. The talisman in front of him now had an extremely strong spirituality, which was probably related to the talisman making secret method used by Xia Tian. Sing Hui, I'll leave the rest to you. Don't worry. Sing Hui nodded. Nalan Fei faced the small forest that was less than 100 meters in diameter and suddenly crushed the talisman in her hand. Rumble. The moment the jade talisman shattered, a terrifying power suddenly erupted from the jade talisman. In the middle of the boundless Yuan Qi, a handsome and elegant figure suddenly appeared and condensed with the help of the power of the jade talisman. Finally used, in the talisman, the figure that was completely condensed from primordial qi spoke slowly. This figure was the heaven vault genius that Sing Hui had seen more than once, Xia Tian. Seeing Xia Tian's figure, Sing Hui was slightly stunned. A cultivator of the unity of divine qi realm could inject his own consciousness into the talisman. Even if he was hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, he would still have a certain level of consciousness and could survive independently. However, the effect of this so-called independent survival would get worse as the distance increased. The East Wilderness and the Cloud Wilderness were hundreds of millions of kilometers away. The figure of Xia Tian, who was condensed from the energy of the talisman, should only have the most basic spirituality. How could it speak? Auntie, be careful, back off. Sing Hui shouted. Even without Sing Hui's reminder, Nalan Fei also understood that there must be something wrong with this talisman. She immediately shouted at the figure that was unreasonably strong. Xia Tian? What's going on? However, the figure of Xia Tian, who was completely condensed from energy, did not care about Nalan Fei at all. Instead, it directly looked at the small forest in front of it. It really is the chaos god restriction. It requires the power of a saint to break it. When I received this piece of information, I had already specially understood all the restrictions that Bei Xiao had mastered. It was just as I expected. In order to get this divine item, I did not hesitate to give up cultivating divine primordial qi and step into the primordial qi realm in advance. Today, it's finally time to reap the rewards. Primordial Spirit Clone Technique. This is not the spiritual primordial qi of the protective talisman at all. It's the primordial spirit clone technique. With a wisp of primordial qi as a guide, you can leave a wisp of spiritual consciousness and integrate it into the Kanglin Jade Crystal. At the critical moment, you can borrow the power of the wisp of primordial qi to form something similar to a clone. As long as you don't squander too much of your power, you can stay for a few years without dissipating and wait for the arrival of the main body. Xia Tian, whose gaze was fixed on the small forest in front of him, heard Nalan Fei's words and shifted his gaze slightly to her. At least you have some knowledge. It's not a waste to get the inheritance of Bei Xiao and mix in the sky vault for so long. Nalan Fei looked at the clone of Xia Tian, who was emitting a terrifying pressure from all over his body, and her pretty face was covered with frost. Your purpose of approaching me has always been to obtain this divine item left behind by Bei Xiao? Even if you were enthusiastic to help me cultivate quickly and even gave me this protective talisman, your ultimate purpose is to hope that I can find this divine item as soon as possible so that you can take it for yourself? That's right, hee. Otherwise, why do you think that I, a god's pride who has cultivated a divine holy body, would fancy a little girl like you who joined the sky vault by luck from a corner of the eastern wasteland? Xia Tian stared coldly at Nalan Fei. It's funny that you still dare to reject me and treat me neither coldly nor warmly. What kind of genius am I, Xia Tian, that I can have any woman I want? With just a flick of my finger, there will be countless saintesses of the great sects and princesses of the empire lying on my bed dauntlessly. Am I mercy? Women like you who pretend to be reserved. Every time I look at you, I feel disgusted. Now, scram as far as you can. I don't have the time to waste too much energy on you. Wait until I break the restriction, then I'll deal with you. Run. Let's see if you can escape from me in such a short time. A trace of grief flashed across Nalan Fei's face, but it was immediately replaced by a cold and stern expression. After breaking this restriction, the upper limit of your strength will immediately drop by a large amount. We only need to consume a portion of your strength here, and at that time, you won't be able to break the restriction. I won't let you succeed. Let's go. Before Nalan Fei could finish her words, Tsing Hui had already pulled Nalan Fei and rushed away at the fastest speed, not giving her any time to think. Tsing Hui, what are you doing? We only need to consume a part of his strength. Then he won't be able to do anything to this restriction. At that time, even if we can't break the restriction, we can just tell my master and let him take this divine item away. Tsing Hui didn't say anything. She just pulled Nalan Fei and continued to retreat. Seeing this, the anxious Nalan Fei's body suddenly shook, and her astral energy erupted, forcefully breaking free from Tsing Hui's grasp. I was the one who lured him here this summer. No matter what, I definitely can't let that divine object fall into the hands of such a despicable person with ulterior motives. I naturally wouldn't just hand over such a divine artifact. However, this clone of his still possesses the might of a saint, so it's utterly impossible for us to fight him. We can only wait for him to exhaust all his strength to destroy that restriction and cause his cultivation to drop. Only then would we have a chance to seize that divine artifact from him. If we want him to use all his strength to destroy that restriction, then we have to leave temporarily and allow him to be at ease. Tsing Hui's words caused Nalan Fei's heart to tremble, and she quickly calmed down. Just now, her mind was actually in chaos because of Xia Chen's words. She didn't understand the crux of the matter, which was why she lost her calm mind. You're right. If he focuses his attention on us, then we wouldn't be a match for him at all with his combat strength at the Saint Realm. The only way is to delay him and exhaust his strength. Even though the soul clone technique can allow his clone to exist for a long time, the consciousness of the clone and the main body aren't connected, so his main body isn't aware of what's happening here. Moreover, this clone has completely separated itself from the main body, so it's like water without a source. Every bit of its strength consumed is a bit less. The energy contained within the Jade Talisman can only allow him to barely step into the Saint Realm. Once he breaks through the restriction and exhausts a large amount of energy, his cultivation will immediately fall back to the Saint Realm. Moreover, it's only a clone, so it's impossible for him to manifest his saint physique. If our strategy is correct, then we might be able to exhaust his strength and drag him to death. Exactly. If he were to directly kill us, we might only have a slim chance of survival, but he made the wrong choice. It's not a wrong choice, but a habit of thinking. How can this kind of avatar that is barely formed with the help of a secret technique compare to the main body? Qing Su, you've only been in the Sky Dome realm for a few years, so Xia Tian doesn't take you seriously at all. In Xia Tian's eyes, the only person he really needs to take care of is me. Even if he exhausts the power of his clone and makes his clone fall to the 6th realm of longevity, it's more than enough to take care of me. However, he never expected that in just a few short years, your cultivation would have already reached late stage of unity of spirit and qi. This is where our chance of survival lies. As soon as Tsing Hui finished speaking, his gaze had already turned towards the direction of the small forest. There a terrifying aura suddenly rose. After climbing to the peak, it completely exploded. Chapter 2:10. The moment Xia Tian made his move, the leader of the Jin Wu religion branch, Qi Lang, suddenly stood up from his seat and rushed out. He rode on his sword and soared into the sky, looking in the direction of Firecloud Mountain. Whoosh! In less than a breath's time, after Qi Lang rose into the air, 3 figures rushed into the air at the same time. One of them didn't even use a flying sword. Instead, he relied on his own ability to control Qi and landed steadily beside Qi Lang. His face was filled with respect as he said, "Young master, Qi-san, do you feel it? Saint Realm. This is the full strength of a Saint Realm expert." Qi-san replied with a solemn expression. He then hurriedly said, Although this Saint Realm expert's chi seems to be a little unstable, this kind of momentum is definitely not something an ordinary Immortal Realm level 6 expert can possess. A Saint Realm expert making a big fuss in our Jinwu religion is definitely not a small matter. Young Master, please immediately send a message to Master and report to the leader. I will personally investigate what happened. Wait a moment. Qi Lang naturally understood this level of power. As a spirit and Qi unity cultivator, he didn't have the qualifications to intervene. In addition, a gentleman wouldn't stand under a collapsing wall. He didn't stop Qi-san, but took out a round pearl the size of a pear and handed it to Qi-san. I'll give this to you for now. If the situation is dangerous, you can use this to block the enemy. Qi-san's expression changed when he saw the treasure that Qi Lang handed over. This is an eternal blazing sun? No, this should be a life-saving item that Master gave to you. How can I take it away? Qi-san, I've been cultivating and growing up with you since I was young. To me, you're like family. I don't want to see anything happen to you. You must come back alive. Young Master, go quickly, Qi Lang said solemnly. Nothing must happen to you. Qi-san saw his young master's resolute expression and was moved to the point of committing suicide. Please rest assured, young master. I will definitely come back alive and do my best for young master until the day I die. With that, he took the eternal blazing sun and rushed in the direction of the energy fluctuation. He's made a move. Once he makes a move, there will be another variable in this matter, which is the Jinwu religion. However, the Jinwu religion only has a cultivator of the blue netherworld realm after all. It depends on who is better. Qing Su stared in the direction of the small forest. He could clearly sense terrifying ripples of energy sweeping over, destroying all the trees and rocks within 5 kilometers of him and the small forest in an unstoppable manner, reducing them to dust. Judging from the frequency of his attacks, it was obvious that he could not wait to obtain the supreme divine object left behind by Bei Xiao. It's descending. Just as Xia Xia's attack lasted for about 10 breaths, its power suddenly decreased by a level. Immortality level 6. His attack is only equivalent to an immortal level 6. I can feel that the restriction hasn't been broken yet. Nalan Fei's face revealed a hint of relief. This is great. He shouldn't be able to break the restriction. Moreover, it's just a clone. It's impossible for him to have any divine weapons on him. Nalan Fei's words did not make Xing Hui relax. One had to know that the vital energy he cultivated could increase his attack power by a small level. Xia Xia was born in the Infinite region, and it was said that his background was extraordinary. He was the young master of a first-rate sect. Although this sect's reputation in the Infinite region could not be compared to the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 schools, and 9 gates, it was still one of the strongest forces below these sections. With a powerful figure in charge, how could such a first-rate sect in the Infinite region not have a secret technique to increase one's cultivation in a short period of time? In fact, it was just as Xing Hui had guessed. Nalan Fei's relief had not completely disappeared. A terrifying aura that was forcefully pushed to the Saint Realm erupted from Xia Xia's body again. Although the corresponding energy in Xia Xia's body began to be consumed by several times, the attack that was comparable to a Saint Realm expert or an Immortal Level 6 expert's attack still followed the top-notch swordsmanship, causing the restriction to shake violently. This time, the shaking lasted for less than 3 breaths. The feeling of not caring about the small forest that had been entangled in Xing Hui and Nalan Fei's hearts suddenly disappeared. It's open. He has already torn the restriction. Xing Hui and Nalan Fei looked at each other and rushed toward the small forest at the same time. The experts of the Jinwu religion must be on their way. You go and stop the experts of the Jinwu religion. With the divine skill, you should be able to hold on for a while. As for this Xia Xia, I will deal with him. Xing Hui, who was in the void, said in a deep voice. Nalan Fei stared at Xing Hui and finally nodded. You have cultivated the divine grade, genuine Qi, and also have the divine skill. Indeed, you can resist Xia Xia's attack better than me. However, it's better to be careful. If this divine object is lost, then so be it. At worst, We will pretend that we have never met. It's more important to protect your own life. Don't worry, I understand. Okay. After Nalan Fei finished speaking, she turned around and flew straight toward the Jin Wu religion. In just a moment, she had already faintly felt an aura that was not inferior to the late stage of the Qingming realm rapidly approaching. Whoosh! While Nalan Fei was facing the experts of the Jin Wu religion, Xing Hui was also flying with all his might. His body was like a ray of light as he directly crossed the short distance between him and Xia Xia. At this moment, other than the core area of the small forest that had a radius of 10 meters, everything else had disappeared and turned into a huge crater. All the trees, rocks, and soil had been annihilated by the attacks of the Saint Realm expert, while Xia Xia's clone excitedly walked towards the surviving forest. In the middle of the forest, there was a 4-meter-tall, blood-red statue. The statue looked lifelike. Even though it was filled with the traces of time, it still looked brand new, as if someone was constantly wiping it. Especially when Xing Hui's gaze fell on the statue, he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear and reverence in his heart. It was as if a lower-level creature had seen a higher-level creature, giving birth to a sense of oppression that came from the level of life. I was kind enough to spare your life, but you actually dared to come back without knowing what's good for you. Then don't leave, die for me. When Xia Xia saw Xing Hui flying over on his sword, his expression immediately changed. In the next moment, a terrifying force exploded in front of him, and the air in the air suddenly froze, twisted, collapsed, and then exploded at the last moment, as if it wanted to turn everything within a 100-meter radius of Xing Hui into dust. However, just as this destructive force completely erupted, a loud and clear cry resounded through the air. Soon after, the image of a golden crow soared into the sky, tearing a hole in the distorted space and breaking out of the encirclement. This power, Xia Xia felt the majestic power emitted by the golden crow that had torn through the void, and his expression immediately changed. This power is already not inferior to that of a 6th-stage immortal realm expert. How is this possible? You advanced to the spirit refining realm and joined our Sky Dome realm for less than 3 years. In 3 years, you actually broke through to the spirit chi as one, and even reached the peak of the spirit chi as one with divine grade earth chi as the foundation. I want to see how long the power contained in this clone of yours can allow you to maintain this state. In the air, flames exploded. In the center of the flames, Xing Hui swept up a monstrous heat wave, like a blazing meteor flying on his sword. Before he arrived, the blazing sword intent had already arrived, and the sword tip was like a hot knife through butter, causing the shocked Xia Xia's pupils to shrink. Following that, he struck out with his palm, 8 parts void. Rumble. Thunder rumbled in the air. Behind Xia Chun, a huge shadow suddenly appeared. It was a huge heavenly rock. The sky Peng controlled the airflow, and if it could improve further, it could derive spatial abilities. Right now, Xia Xia had unleashed the power of the sky Peng and used the secret technique 8 parts void. The space within a 100-meter radius seemed to have been cut into 8 pieces, and then continuously dislocated and intersected, as if any creature in this space would be cut into 8 pieces by this power. Unfortunately, during this period of time, Xing Hui's Great Sun Golden Crow technique did not make much progress, but the Illuminating Sun Sutra had already been cultivated to the same level as the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. With the two complementing each other, and with the help of the sacred technique, he could directly confront a longevity stage 6 manifestation divine stage powerhouse without revealing his battle body, not to mention Xia Xia's clone, who did not have any divine weapons other than his true essence. His first attack was broken by Xing Hui, and even if he used all his strength for the second attack, it still did not cause any real damage to Xing Hui. The mighty heat flow of the Golden Crow's shadow was mixed with the heat of burning the void, constantly twisting and canceling out the power of the 8 parts void. When the power of the 8 parts void gradually weakened, Tsing Hui allowed the twisting power of the 8 parts void to dislocate his bones and bleed his internal organs. He had already arrived in front of Xia Xia, and 3 red crow souls suddenly appeared, and then, like a scorching sun, exploded in the air. Rumble! The blazing light and flames caused Xia Xia's body to explosively retreat, trying his best to avoid the loss of his strength. However, just as he was retreating, Tsing Hui's entire body had already whistled through the blazing flames like a stream of light, directly landing on the blood-red statue in the small forest. The power of space swept out, and the blood-red statue was already moved into his personal space. Bastard! Seeing that Tsing Hui had taken away the blood-red statue that had already become his possession, Xia Lei was furious. The sky rock above his head flapped its wings, and countless sharp blades that seemed to have the power to tear through space crazily cut towards Tsing Hui, completely enveloping Tsing Hui within. Even though Tsing Hui had immediately erupted with the power of the Golden Crow, he was still cut by dozens of sharp blades. Even with the protection of the Golden Flame armor, it was still unavoidable that a large number of wounds would appear on his body, causing blood to flow out. However, taking advantage of this opportunity, the high-grade 6-step flying sword beneath Tsing Hui's feet had already been brazenly released. Then, it broke through the air like a ray of light, straight into the clouds, bringing with it an endless amount of blood mist. In an instant, it had already rushed out of Xia Xia's attack range. "You want to leave? Die." Xia Tian looked at Qing. Suhu tore through the air with his sword and roared out. The figure, the heavenly Peng, behind him spread its wings and roared out. At the same time, the space above Qing Su's head seemed to transform into a towering mountain, crashing down with the force of Mount Tai. It directly made Qing Su's figure shudder as he rapidly plummeted from a force. However, before this falling force could last for even a breath of time, the vast force that came from the void above his head lightened slightly. It was actually blocked by the Golden Crow's shadow that had erupted in the Tsing Hui. The aura on Xia Xia's body was like a rainbow, not inferior to the aura of the peak of the 6th stage of the longevity realm, but it also suddenly fell to the late stage of the 6th stage of the longevity realm. Chapter 211. His aura dropped? Tsing Hui's eyes revealed a trace of joy. Summer's clone was like water without roots, so he could only consume as much energy as he wanted without any source to replenish it. When he maintained the power of the 6th level of the longevity realm, relying on the secret technique he grasped, even without a divine weapon, he was still able to suppress Tsing Hui. If not for the fact that Tsing Hui's recovery ability had been raised to the 6th level by him, and that the injuries caused by the airflow had already recovered in a few breaths of time, he would have already been heavily injured and killed. This was especially true for the power of the 8th sex void. More than 10 of his bones had been broken, and his internal organs had all been displaced due to the distortion of the 8th sex void's airflow. This kind of injury was enough to be fatal to an ordinary person. It was only because of his Tier 6 recovery ability that he did not care about this level of injury. But even so, from the start of the battle, he did not have any strength to fight back in front of Summer. And right now, as Summer's aura fell, the opportunity seemed to have arrived. Rumble, the Golden Crow silhouette, which was struggling to resist the pressure of the air currents above his head, suddenly blossomed with dazzling light. Blazing flames sputtered like flaming meteors, illuminating the space within a radius of several thousand meters in a dazzling manner. A powerful aura continuously erupted from Tsing Hui's body under the Golden Crow phantom, causing the falling Tsing Hui to be in a stalemate with the pressure. For a moment, Summer was actually unable to do anything to Tsing Hui. Damn it, in order to quickly destroy that restriction, I used the forbidden technique, the 8-directional dragon assembly technique. Although this technique will allow my strength to explode in a short period of time, the consumption of energy is extremely serious, and I will quickly weaken. Right now, the weakening has already begun. Summer's clone's expression changed greatly. In just a short moment, his aura that had fallen to the late stage of the prominent divine stage had once again fallen, and there were signs of him falling back to the middle stage of the prominent divine stage. Once he reached the middle stage of the prominent divine stage, he would not be able to do anything to Tsing Hui, who had the divine technique and a 6th level flying sword. Pak Hui, right? I know it's you. That divine item won't be of much use to you. At most, it can raise your chaos level by 1 or 2 levels. Your chaos level is still low, so it probably won't be of much use. However, I'm different. I urgently need the Tao rhythm of this divine item to raise my chaos level. Therefore, as long as you're willing to give me this divine item, I'm willing to exchange a large amount of treasures with you. I'm the young sect master of the UNG sect. Although the UNG sect isn't one of the top sects on planet Tianwang, it's still one of the top sections. There are almighties in the sect. As long as you give this to me, I'm willing to swear a chaos oath with you. Divine-grade scriptures, top-tier divine artifacts, heavenly treasures, as long as the UNG sect has it, we'll give it to you. Xia Chun shouted anxiously. Chaos oath? Your avatar can't even sense the Chaos Temple, and you want to establish a chaos oath with me? You'd better think about how to deal with the Sky Sword Wielder's pursuit. As a member of the Sky Dome realm, he actually dared to attack me and Qin Yu, who are also members of the Sky Dome realm. This is a disgraceful act. Stubborn. Xia Chen's avatar's expression immediately turned cold. Pak Hui, I know you. At the same time, based on Qin Yu's identity, it won't take long for me to find out who you are in the real world. As long as your true identity is locked onto by me, even if you hide to the ends of the earth in this tiny eastern wasteland, my UNG sect will find you one day. You have to think carefully. Do you want to become friends with our UNG sect and receive the many divine weapons and heavenly treasures we'll give you? Or do you want to become our enemy? When the experts of our UNG sect arrive, they'll crush you and all your friends and family into ashes. The UNG sect is a sect on planet Tianwang. Even if you have great power on planet Tianwang, you won't be able to affect Eastern Wasteland. Good. Xia Chen's avatar was so angry that he laughed. The pressure that had immobilized Tsing Hui immediately dissipated. At the same time, Xia Chen's avatar's power dropped from the late stage of the prominent sage stage to the middle stage of the prominent sage stage. Pak Hui, I'll remember you. I only hope that when the experts of our UNG sect arrive in Eastern Wasteland, you'll still be able to boast so shamelessly. Just you wait, everyone around you, anyone who is related to you, will be buried with you because of your stupid choice. Tsing Hui's expression turned slightly cold. Then, he said indifferently, you should take care of yourself first. After saying that, he actually stopped running. The golden crow, sword in his hand, erupted with a dazzling light. The dazzling flames were like the sun in the middle of the day. The power contained within them caused Xia Chen's expression to change greatly. For symbols shift. With a low shout, the space around his body seemed to have been cut into 4 pieces. As the 4 pieces of space continued to move and combine, he easily dodged the sword strike, allowing the sword strike to fall to the ground, causing a wave of terrifying energy fluctuations on the ground, incinerating everything within a radius of 1,000 meters. My main body is leading the experts of my UNG sect over at full speed, and I will also keep an eye on you in the dark. Even if you go into exile in the outer sea and risk your life in the outer sea, your family, your friends, we will not leave a single one of them alive. Everything will be because of the sins you have committed today. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flickered as if he was teleporting, and he quickly flew towards the sky. The heavenly Peng bloodline itself was extremely good at speed. When cultivated to the peak, the heavenly Peng bloodline could even control the void. Xia Chun came from the UNG sect of the Tianhuang wasteland and did not lack top-notch techniques. Right now, he was relying on this incarnation to manifest them one by one. His speed was not much inferior to Tsing Hui, who had a 6th-grade upper-grade flying sword. Looking at Xia Chen's departing figure, Tsing Hui let out a sigh of relief. If he continued to fight, the time limit of his divine art would be up. When that time came, he would have to face Xia Chun, who was at the middle stage of immortality stage 6. Wait a minute. Time limit of the divine art? In order to deal with us, Xia Chun did not hesitate to take the risk of being hunted down by the heavenly Peng swordsman in the future. How would he give up so easily? He clearly saw that I relied on the divine art to have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He is retreating to advance and stalling for time. With that thought, the speed of the flying sword under Tsing Hui's feet exploded. His entire body was like a stream of light, instantly chasing after the fleeing Xia Chun. Sword light danced, and the shadows of the golden crows tore through the void at the same time. Like missiles, they brazenly covered the fleeing Xia Chun. Damn it! While fleeing, Xia Chun's face was gloomy. The next moment, the airflow in the void was disturbed by him again. Wind blades that tore through the void formed a tornado that met the blazing sword chi head-on, tearing the golden crows formed by the blazing sword chi into pieces. For a moment, the two of them confronted each other head-on in the void. Terrifying energy fluctuations continuously poured out from Tsing Hui's body. He had adopted the most energy-consuming fighting method, so much so that Xia Chun had no choice but to use this method to fight him head-on. No, I can't use up all my energy. From the heaven wasteland to the eastern wasteland, we need to pass through tens of millions of miles of sea. Sometimes there will be rank 9, rank 10, or even rank 11 and 12 terrifying sea beasts blocking the way, forcing us to take a detour. By the time my main body leads the sex experts to the eastern wasteland, it will already be 2 or 3 years later. For safety's sake, I must ensure that I have enough energy to maintain myself for 4 or 5 years and let my main body know the details of this matter. Thinking of this, Xia Chun gritted his teeth, and the Zhun Qi all over his body burst out again. The moment he tore apart Tsing Hui's torrential golden corrosion Qi, his body suddenly burst out, and as if he had teleported, he directly rushed over 1,000 meters away, taking advantage of this opportunity to rush out of his encirclement. But at this time, Tsing Hui, who was in the middle of the battle, also felt that the battle seemed to have reached the most critical moment. With a long roar, terrifying and mighty energy crazily gathered, as if a scorching sun had suddenly risen in the void, blooming with endless brilliance and heat. The mighty blazing pressure made the nearby Xia Chun, as well as Nalan Fei and Qi San, who were already fighting more than 30 kilometers away, change their expressions greatly. Sun glory, rumble. In the next moment, a mushroom cloud filled with the aura of doomsday rose from the void where Tsing Hui was. The upper atmosphere was squeezed and torn apart by the destructive force of the explosion, forming a ring visible to the naked eye. Rumble. The entire earth was constantly rumbling. It was as if an earthquake had occurred within a radius of tens of kilometers. Not long after, the explosive force formed a torrent of impact that was like a tsunami, majestically transmitting from the center of the explosion to the battlefield where Nalan Fei and Qi San were. Even though they were already more than 30 kilometers apart, the hurricane caused by the energy impact still caused the two people fighting in the air to sway, and they were blown dozens of meters away before they could stop. The flowers and trees below them were blown to the side, and some fragile vegetation was even uprooted, causing endless sand and dust to swirl up. Eternal blazing sun, this destructive power, it was the eternal blazing sun. The people fighting are the experts of our Jin Wu religion. And those who can use the eternal blazing sun are the absolute upper echelons of our Jin Wu religion, and even supreme elders. Qi San's heart trembled, and he stared fiercely at Nalan Fei. Does your Hunyuan heaven sect want to start a war with our Jin Wu religion? If anything happens to the expert of our Jin Wu religion, you will be held responsible. At this time, Nalan Fei could not be bothered with Qi San. She turned around and rushed straight to the center of the explosion. However, she was only in the spirit refining realm. No matter how fast she was, how could she be faster than Qi San, who was in the Qingming realm? Along with the whistling of light, Nalan Fei was overtaken by Qi San in an instant and rushed into the smoke and dust caused by the eternal blazing sun's explosion. As he rushed less than 10 kilometers into the smoke and dust, he saw a figure in front of him sweeping the air, controlling the void, and constantly flashing in a futile attempt to escape. Qi San stared at the figure, who was extremely fast. Even though his aura had weakened, he was still in the early stage of the 6th stage of the longevity realm. His eyes flashed, Tian Peng bloodline. The Hunyuan heaven sect's sacred scripture, the black hole scripture, awakened the bloodline of the mythological beast Kuan Peng. However, ordinary people were not qualified to cultivate such a technique. Many people only cultivated the Tian Peng bloodline. Qi San almost immediately confirmed the identity of the figure in front of him. At this moment, over 10 kilometers away, a figure could be heard shouting faintly, "Stop him! Don't let him get away!" The aura coming from that figure. Great Sun Golden Crow technique. This time, there was no mistake. It must be that the Saint Realm expert of the Hunyuan Heaven sect and the core figure of the Jinwu religion had a great battle for some unknown reason, forcing the other party to use the eternal blazing sun to heavily injure him, causing his aura to fall to the early stage of the prominent divine realm. The heavily injured Hunyuan Heaven sect expert sensed that the experts of the Jinwu religion were rushing over and could only escape as soon as possible. "Those who block me will die." At this time, the figure was less than 3 kilometers away from Qi San. Seeing that there was a cultivator who cultivated the same technique as Tsing Hui blocking his way, he instinctively thought that it was a helper brought by Tsing Hui. With a loud roar, a wind blade tornado tore through the void and strangled toward Qi San. Qi San, who thought he had figured out the truth, was completely enraged. "You dare to be so presumptuous in the territory of our Jinwu religion and seriously injure an elder of our Jinwu religion. Do you really think our Jinwu religion is afraid of your Hunyuan Heaven sect? Die." Then an eternal blazing sun smashed over. Chapter 2:12. At this moment, in the distant Tianhuang region, at a supply point near the sea of the Yuanji sect, Xia Tian's expression changed slightly. Young sect master. Behind him, a man with almost no aura on his body noticed Xia Tian's abnormal expression and immediately asked with concern. In a cultivation world, if one wanted to hide one's aura, they would either have to cultivate a special aura concealment technique or reach the 2nd level of the Saint Realm. Only by reaching the Saint Realm would one be able to precisely control every bit of one's power and perfectly conceal one's aura fluctuations. To be able to follow the UNG sect's young sect master, this man obviously wasn't an ordinary person. From this, it could be inferred that he was an expert above the 2nd level of the Saint Realm. "That clone of mine has disappeared." Xia Tian's expression was somewhat gloomy. Disappeared? The man's expression immediately changed. Could it be that something has happened? In order to obtain that legendary treasure, young sect master, you even gave up the great future of joining Heaven's Vault. Not long ago, you found a reason to peacefully withdraw from Heaven's Vault. If something happened to that treasure, it would be a huge loss. Xia Tian raised his head and looked at the boundless sea in front of him, his expression unreadable. No matter what, that damn girl called Nalan Fei did indeed obtain that treasure. This can be confirmed from my intentional approach and investigation over the past 10 years. Even if something really happened to my clone, as long as we can find Nalan Fei, we will definitely be able to take that treasure back. I'm just afraid that little girl will give that treasure to her master, Purple Sky Spiritual Master. If that happens, it will be terrible. No way. As far as I know, that bitch is also a very ambitious person. If she was really willing to give that treasure to her master, she would have done so long ago. Why would she wait until now? Although I don't know what method she used to destroy my clone, I'm certain that the treasure is definitely still with her. After Xia Tian finished speaking, he glanced at his subordinate who was still packing up and immediately said, "Partridge, pass down the order." Don't bring any unnecessary things. Set off for the eastern wasteland at the fastest speed. The man, Partridge, nodded and quickly summoned a servant to pass on the order. I want to reach the eastern wasteland within 3 years. Which route should we take? 3 years? No. If we want to get to the eastern wilderness in 3 years, we can only take the northern sea. However, there's a huge ferocious bird tribe there, and there's no lack of 9th and 10th level ferocious bird tribe there. This time, in order to keep this a secret from the Visect leaders, we didn't bring many experts with us. We only brought 6 Saint Stage experts, and I'm the only one who has reached the 3rd level Saint Stage, the unending stage. If we're targeted by the ferocious bird tribe, I'm afraid we'll die. Just take that route. If that ferocious bird tribe really chases after us. Don't forget the primary extreme sword talisman that my father gave me. Primary extreme sword talisman. That's a life-saving item that the sect master gave to the young sect master. You mustn't use it recklessly. There aren't any decent experts in the small eastern wasteland. The people of the Tianhuang wasteland cultivate the top techniques, and we're a small stage stronger than those small places. With your unending stage strength, it won't be difficult for you to sweep through the eastern wasteland. What danger can I be in? Moreover, I'm not weak myself. With the divine grade battle body, saint grade vital essence, and the divine art, there are only a few people in the eastern wasteland who can pose a threat to me. Partridge was quite confident in his own strength. After hearing Xia Tian's words, he didn't insist. He only sighed and said, "It's a pity that the 4 supreme elders of the UNG sect aren't willing to work together and support the other 2. If the entire UNG sect is united and assists the young sect master in breaking through to the transcendent stage, we can at least have a few ordinary golden core stage elders protect you. That day won't be far away. When I get that treasure and raise my cultivation, those old fellows won't be able to use my cultivation as an excuse to stop me from inheriting the UNG sect. After I inherit the UNG sect, I'll definitely be able to lead the UNG sect to unprecedented glory." Xia Tian looked in the direction of the eastern wasteland at the end of the sky, the flames of ambition burning in his eyes. Looking at the eternal blazing sun that smashed towards Xia Tian's clone and exploded suddenly, almost injuring him, Xing Hui was a little dumbfounded. What was going on? The moment the effects of the divine art were about to disappear, he used all his strength to unleash the sword of the glorious sun and heavily injured Xia Tian's clone, causing his aura to plummet and almost fall out of the immortality stage 6. Just as he was about to brave the aftermath of the explosion to catch up to Xia Tian and completely eliminate this threat, the mysterious expert of the Jin Wu religion actually threw out another eternal blazing sun, blowing Xia Tian's clone, who had a high chance of escaping, into ashes. The Jin Wu religion, shouldn't they be enemies? Did we misunderstand them? However, although Xing Hui's heart was filled with all kinds of puzzlement, doubt, and shock, he was still very clear in his heart that if he really met the expert of the Jin Wu religion face to face, and the other party found out that he wasn't a member of the Jin Wu religion, he was afraid that he would be met with endless revenge. At that moment, taking advantage of the fact that the power of the eternal blazing sun had not dissipated, he immediately turned around and left the battlefield as quickly as possible. At the same time, he entered the Chaos Temple and called for Nalan Fei to retreat. The power of the eternal blazing sun had always been tyrannical and tyrannical. Once it exploded, everything within a radius of a few kilometers would be turned into ashes, and the range of the explosion would reach more than 10 kilometers. As for the energy waves and the light that spread out from the explosion of the eternal blazing sun, it could be seen clearly from hundreds of kilometers away. Such a powerful force naturally caused a very shocking commotion, so much so that this vast and mighty destructive power only slightly dissipated after more than 10 breaths. After waiting for the power of the eternal blazing sun to dissipate by more than half, Chi 3 dared to fly in the direction of the explosion, intending to rescue the mysterious expert of the Jin Wu religion. However, when he arrived at the range of the explosion, Sing Hui had already used the power of the eternal blazing sun's explosion to cover his escape. How could he still stay where he was? This made Chi 3 suddenly have a faint premonition that something was wrong. Capture Nail and Fei, capture her, and we'll naturally know what happened just now. Chi 3's reaction was extremely fast, and he quickly turned around and chased after Nail and Fei. However, Nail and Fei, who had received Sing Hui's message, had already left the area before him. In addition, Nail and Fei's flying sword was not weak, so she had already taken the initiative and disappeared into the horizon. Chi 3, who did not know which direction Nail and Fei had fled in, could only painfully return to the scene of the eternal blazing sun's explosion, trying to figure out what had happened. After all, the eternal blazing sun was not to be used lightly. If not for the mysterious expert's eternal blazing sun, he would not have instinctively thrown out the eternal blazing sun in his hands. Now that he had unknowingly wasted such a powerful weapon, if he did not explain himself, he would definitely be punished. Sing Hui, how are your injuries? On a mountain top tens of kilometers away from the battle site, Sing Hui and Nail and Fei met up. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. Auntie, you're in charge of operating the sacred winged dragonhawk, Sing Hui said as he brought out the sacred winged dragonhawk. Nail and Fei did not say much and immediately headed to the control room. She piloted the sacred winged dragonhawk toward the Hunyuan heaven sect and the sea. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Sing Hui stimulated his life potential and healed his injuries. Relying on the recovery ability of the rank 6, he rapidly recovered in a few hours despite the countless wounds on his body. By the time the sacred winged dragonhawk truly flew into the Hunyuan heaven sect's territory, Sing Hui's extremely heavy injuries had mostly healed. Phew! Sing Hui exhaled slightly. After returning to his senses, he arrived at the sacred winged dragonhawk's control room. It seems that the Jinwu religion people did not chase after us. Before figuring out our background, the Jinwu religion's green netherworld stage expert won't dare to rashly chase after us. Nail and Fei nodded. After a moment, she seemed to have thought of something and looked at Sing Hui with sparkling eyes. When I fought with your clone earlier, did you have some kind of special secret technique? Or did you really have an eternal blazing sun? I wish I had an eternal blazing sun, but I don't. Because of this, I couldn't do anything to his clone even after using all my strength. If it weren't for the Jinwu religion's green netherworld stage expert mistaking me for someone from the Jinwu religion and directly using the eternal blazing sun at the crucial moment, I'm afraid Xiatian would have easily escaped. At that time, with a Vision Saint stage clone eyeing us covetously, I'm afraid we won't have any peaceful days. Sing Hui's words made Nail and Fei nod. Although she and Sing Hui were able to erupt with cultivation that far exceeded their current realm, in reality, all of this was built on the foundation of the divine art. And the divine art had a cooldown period of 1 month. As long as Xia Tian's clone launched a sneak attack while they were in the cooldown period of the divine art, they would not be able to resist at all. Xia Tian dared to attack us regardless of our status as members of the Sky Dome sect. I'll contact my master right now and ask the sword wielder to punish him severely. Nailin Fei said, I'm afraid it's useless. Since Xia Tian dared to attack us so recklessly, he's probably already prepared a way out. Rather than asking the Sky Dome sect sword wielder to punish him, it's better to find out exactly how many experts he brought to attack our Eastern Wasteland. Although Xia Tian is the junior sect master of the UNG sect, due to his cultivation, he doesn't have much authority in the UNG sect. It's impossible for powerful experts to travel with him. Even the Golden Core Stage elders might not be able to travel with him to the Eastern Wasteland. In other words, the strongest expert is probably only at the 3rd level of the Saint Realm. Based on the distance between Heaven Wasteland and the Eastern Wasteland, it would take them at least 2 or 3 years to arrive, even if they were on the best warships. In these 2 or 3 years, we can make a good arrangement. At that time, we might be able to repel their attack. Sing Hui heaved a sigh of relief. In another 2 months, his chaotic stage would reach the 25th level. Once he reached the 25th level, he would immediately head to the Heaven Wasteland world and purchase many cultivation resources from there. The cultivation world of the Heaven Wasteland world was countless times more prosperous than that of the Eastern Wasteland world. In the case of spending Dao Aura, a little bit of Dao Aura could buy 8th or 9th level materials and treasures. With those cultivation resources, he was confident that his cultivation would improve in a short period of time. If he could cultivate to the peak of the prominent saint realm with the help of the divine art, he might be able to fight against a 1st or 2nd level saint realm expert. Chapter 213. On a small island less than 300 kilometers inland in the Hunyuan heaven sect, Xing Hui and Nalan Fei were riding on a sacred winged dragonhawk. I've obtained the divine artifact left behind by Senior Bei Xiao, but this divine artifact is a little strange. Auntie, you need to be prepared. Strange? Nalan Fei nodded slightly when she heard Xing Hui's words. I did hear Bei Xiao mention this before he died. Take it out. Seeing this, Xing Hui took out the blood-colored statue that contained the life force pressure of a high-level expert. As soon as the blood-colored statue was taken out by Xing Hui, the bone-chilling feeling from the statue made Xing Hui's heart palpitate incessantly. He faintly felt that his soul was trembling slightly. As long as he stood there, there was a great fear entrenched in his soul, as if it wanted to use the power of fear to force him to kneel down and worship the blood-colored statue in front of him to show his submission. Xing Hui's spirit level had already reached the level of a Vision Saint stage expert of the Longevity Stage 6, and his sword intent had almost reached the Great Success stage when his comprehension had reached the 5th order. However, his performance in front of the blood-colored statue was still so unbearable, let alone Nalan Fei. The moment she saw the blood-colored statue, Nalan Fei's face turned deathly pale. Her star-like pupils constantly shrank, and her delicate body trembled slightly. Not long after, she couldn't help but bend her knees, as if she was about to kneel down. Seeing this, Xing Hui hurriedly waved his hand and stored the blood-colored statue in his personal space. Seeing the blood-colored statue disappear, Nalan Fei was slightly startled. There was a sense of loss on her face, as if the most important thing in her heart had been taken away by someone. However, when she came back to her senses a moment later, she was already drenched in sweat, and her face was filled with lingering fear. This statue. Nalan Fei looked at where the blood-colored statue was and gasped for breath. What is it? You don't know? Xing Hui looked at Nalan Fei in confusion. Bei Xiao didn't tell you about the effects of this divine item? Nalan Fei carefully recalled the information she had heard when she received Bei Xiao's inheritance. This divine object has terrifying power. If a creature with a powerful bloodline is sacrificed in front of the statue, they will receive the most precious gift. Sacrifice living beings with powerful bloodlines in front of the statue to obtain precious blessings, Xing Hui said to Nalan Fei. Step back. After saying that, he took out the blood-red statue again. The blood-red statue was actually a 4-meter-tall man shrouded in a black robe. The man's face was covered by the black robe and couldn't be seen clearly. He was still holding a sword in one hand, and his other hand was slightly open in front of him. In his palm, there was a red crystal-like substance. However, this crystal seemed to be a little damaged and looked like it was only 6/10 of its complete form. What was strange was that the blood-red crystal gem was clearly in the statue's hand, but it didn't fall when Xing Hui moved the statue. It was as if there was an invisible force enveloping the blood-red crystal and the statue. After thinking for a moment, Xing Hui went forward and picked up the blood-red crystal. When his fingers touched the blood-red crystal, he vaguely saw countless vengeful spirits letting out hateful roars and wails. They charged straight at his spiritual world. He was so shocked that his right hand trembled and the blood-red crystal fell to the ground. Xing Hui, Nalan Fei, who was hundreds of meters away, noticed Sing Hui's abnormality and called out from afar. Sing Hui quickly came back to his senses and said, "I'm fine." At the same time, the Chaos Temple's notification sounded in his mind. Discovered Tao Vessel. It contains 6 Taoist rhymes. Do you want to fuse it? He immediately looked at the blood-red crystal again. Tao Vessel. After hesitating for a moment, Sing Hui prepared himself to be attacked mentally. He reached out and picked up the blood-red crystal. However, when he picked up the blood-red crystal again, the terrifying roars and wails that he expected didn't come. He calmly held the Tao vessel that contained 6 Taoist rhymes in his hand. What's going on? Sing Hui was puzzled. According to what Xia Tian said, the value of this divine object is probably no less than a Tao vessel that contains hundreds of Taoist rhymes. Otherwise, he wouldn't be willing to exchange so many treasures for it. However, even if I put the blood-red statue in front of me, the Chaos Temple didn't give me any notification. Obviously, the statue itself doesn't contain Taoist rhymes. The only thing that contains Taoist rhymes is the broken red crystal in the statue's hand. Although there are Taoist rhymes in it, there are only 6 of them. 6 Taoist rhymes. This number was so low that it made one's hair stand on end. After hesitating for a moment, Sing Hui put the blood-red statue back into his personal space. Seeing this, Nalan Fei quickly stepped forward. Sing Hui, have you figured out what's so special about this divine object? Sing Hui shook his head. It seems like the true use of this divine object lies in the sentence left behind by Bei Xiao. That sentence? Sacrificing creatures with powerful bloodlines? Yes, powerful bloodlines. Those with powerful bloodlines have to be at least at the level of a holy beast. But with our current strength, we can't kill a holy beast. Sing Hui had a holy beast, Xuanwu. However, the holy beast Black Tortoise had been by his side all these years, and it had been cautious and conscientious. Without making any mistakes, he could not kill the Black Tortoise to test if it met the standard of the blood-colored statue's powerful bloodline. The bloodline of a holy beast is powerful, but we humans can also awaken powerful bloodlines. The best of us can even awaken the bloodline of a divine beast, let alone the bloodline of a holy beast. It's just that the bloodline of a divine beast that has just awakened is far from being as pure as a real divine beast. If we find a cultivator who has awakened the bloodline of a divine beast, kill him, and sacrifice him to this statue, we'll be able to determine if the statue's function is as we've guessed. Sing Hui looked at the blood-red crystal in his hand as he spoke. A treasure bestowed? The blood-red crystal was a treasure bestowed by this divine object. If that was really the case, this statue couldn't be called a divine object, but a demonic creature. A demonic creature that relied on sacrificing living beings to survive. Not long ago, our Hunyuan Heaven sect issued an arrest warrant for a demonic cultivator who has reached the intermediate stage of Inchi unification. He calls himself Serene, and we don't know where this cultivator obtained our Hunyuan Heaven sect's Black Hole Sutra and awakened the bloodline of the divine beast Kunping. Although he didn't have the corresponding cultivation method and was already weak at the true Qi stage, he still managed to cultivate Saint Tier Gang Qi. In addition, he seems to be a 10th level son of chaos and possesses divine arts, which makes him a great threat to our Hunyuan Heaven sect. He has provoked us several times, but because he is well informed, he won't attack unless he is confident. Once the Hunyuan Heaven sect's supreme elders personally take action to kill him, he will be able to avoid them. As a result, he has been able to get away scot-free for 3 months. On the contrary, our Hunyuan Heaven sect has lost several true disciples and more than a dozen ordinary elders in order to capture and kill him. A 10th level son of chaos who cultivated Saint Grade Gangchi, the Hunyuan Heaven sect didn't recruit him? This person's hatred for the Hunyuan Heaven sect runs extremely deep, and he specifically goes against the Hunyuan Heaven sect. The Hunyuan Heaven sect has tried to recruit him, but he has refused time and time again, and even killed the envoys who tried to recruit him. The Hunyuan Heaven sect has already lost its patience, and the bounty on his head has already reached the level of a Tier 6 divine weapon. Okay, I'll cooperate with you to kill this person and build momentum for your ascension to the Peak Master's throne. And I'll also spread the news. Currently, my cultivation has reached the peak of the spirit refining realm, and I've cultivated Saint-grade Gangchi. Among the true disciples of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, I can be considered as the number one. As long as I can ensure that I don't have a protective talisman given to me by the sect master or the supreme elder, Serene will definitely come to kill me. Moreover, you and I have nothing to do with each other. Although you're a little famous overseas, it probably hasn't spread to the mainland yet. Many people in the mainland probably only know about you from the time you left the Lorraine Kingdom. I believe that Serene won't suspect anything. Nayland Fei paused for a moment before continuing. With your contribution in helping me kill Serene, I'll recruit you to my peak in the future. I'm sure you won't be criticized in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Okay, I'll do as you say. And the only problem now is to find where Serene is. That's simple. Didn't you say that Serene is well-informed and that it's very likely that there's a spy in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect? Then we'll beat him at his own game. As long as we make him believe that you don't have a supreme elder behind you, with his Saint-grade Gangchi and divine arts, he'll definitely attack you. Sing Hui said. His words caused Nayland Fei to be taken aback for a moment. She quickly muttered, "You're right. I don't plan on borrowing the power of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Grand Elder to kill him. Instead, the news from his spy in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect will make him feel more at ease. I'll use the opportunity of reaching the Spirit Chi Unity stage as bait to lure him into attacking me. With his hatred for the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, what could be more satisfying than killing a peak master disciple who's about to break through?" Exactly. Sing Hui smiled. In order to show that we're open and above board, I'll stay by your side as your bodyguard. Nayland Fei nodded with a smile. Even if Serene's information network is better, he probably won't care about you even if he finds out that you're the island master of Dragon Slaying Island. He's not weaker than an expert at the peak of the spirit and chi unison realm. Plus, he has the divine art. As long as it's not one of the top 10 experts overseas, he'll probably kill anyone who comes. Let's start fishing. Okay. After learning about Sing Hui's true battle strength, Nayland Fei didn't mind that his divine arts had yet to recover. He was an advanced spirit chi unity stage cultivator with many treasures. As long as Serene took the bait, he would die regardless of whether he used his divine arts or not. Actually, it could be named Zuma's statue. Chapter 214. Nayland Fei had a good reputation in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Among the many true disciples below the peak master level, there were no more than 20 who cultivated Saint-grade Gangchi. Once she stepped into the Spirit Chi Unite stage and established a peak, her status would soar countless times. She might even surpass the peak master of the sky, Origin Peak, and become one of the most popular contenders for the sect master's throne. After all, apart from being a Saint-grade Gangchi cultivator, Nayland Fei was also a high-class son of chaos. Such a true disciple was about to break through to the Spirit Chi Unite stage. This caused quite a stir among the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's disciples and even the elders. However, the news that Nayland Fei had spread was ambiguous and not accurate. Therefore, it hadn't alarmed any of the higher-ups. At most, it had circulated among the true disciples and elders. Even the palace masters didn't pay much attention to it. Will Serene fall for it? Sing Hui asked Nayland Fei on a beautiful mountain peak near the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's coastal border. There's a 60% chance, but it all depends on luck. If Serene doesn't fall for it, you'll have to try it yourself. The inner region has been peaceful for a long time, and those with powerful bloodlines are all the higher-ups and core members of the 10 sacred sects. Very few ordinary unaffiliated cultivators can awaken a divine beast bloodline. Even Saint Beast bloodlines are very rare. But overseas, the polarization is very serious. Although most people have ordinary bloodlines, there are many people with saint and divine beast bloodlines. Qing Su nodded. Among the people on the divine dragon rankings that he knew, there were quite a few who had awakened the bloodline of a divine beast. However, all of them had ended up crippled during their cultivation. The bloodline of a divine beast, saint tier, true qi, and spiritual tier, true qi were all different. Their foundations were not enough to support them on the path of God tier, true qi, and divine tier, true qi. While Tsing Hui and Nalan Fei were waiting quietly on this mountain peak, Tsing Hui, whose mental strength had reached the 58th level, suddenly sensed something. His eyes flashed like lightning as he looked toward the thicket of thorns at the bottom of the mountain peak. It was unknown when, but a figure had quietly appeared there. His stealth technique was so brilliant that even Tsing Hui was almost fooled by him. After being discovered by Tsing Hui, the figure seemed extremely cautious. Without any hesitation, it soared into the sky and flew towards the horizon on its sword. Tsing Hui, that's serene. He didn't even engage in a probing exchange of blows before fleeing on his flying sword. Furthermore, his flying sword has actually reached the high grade of the 5th rank. It seems that the inheritance you obtained is not simple. After saying that, Tsing Hui leaped into the air. Be careful. He won't be able to escape. 2 streaks of sword light tore through the clouds. One after the other, they rapidly flew towards the sea. Although the golden crow wasn't proficient in defense, it was still a bird species and had a slight boost to its flying speed. On the other hand, Tsing Hui had obtained the first 4 layers of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's sacred scripture, the Black Hole Sutra. He had also comprehended the flight and movement techniques in the sutra, so his speed wasn't any slower than an ordinary advanced stage green netherworld expert. Coupled with the fact that he was standing on a high grade of the 6th rank flying sword, his flying speed was much faster than Serene's. Even though Serene had the upper hand, the distance between the two was still rapidly closing after 100 kilometers. Hunyuan Heaven Sect's lackey Dai, seeing that he couldn't escape and that Tsing Hui was alone, Serene suddenly roared. His aura soared as he twisted his body and shot towards Tsing Hui like an eagle. Under the state of the divine art, he's already no weaker than an advanced stage green netherworld expert, coupled with a high grade of the 5th rank flying sword. It's no wonder that the Hunyuan Heaven Sect isn't willing to send out their true elites. Apart from the Supreme Elder, almost no one can take him down. Tsing Hui muttered to himself as he felt the powerful aura from Serene's body. Unfortunately, this time, Serene encountered Tsing Hui. Bang! Blazing flames suddenly erupted from Tsing Hui's body, transforming into the silhouette of a golden crow that collided head-on with Serene's blurry and distorted Kunping silhouette. For a moment, a blazing and terrifying flow of heat mixed with space-tearing wind blades quickly wreaked havoc within a radius of several hundred meters, shredding the surrounding clouds into pieces. The Great Sun Golden Crow Technique? How do you know the Great Sun Golden Crow Technique of the Jinwu religion? Serene's expression changed when he saw Tsing Hui's attack. Cho Tsing Hui, I know you. You have no direct relationship with the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. I'm willing to give up on assassinating Nalan Fei and swear that I won't harm Nalan Fei in the future. Please let me go. Tsing Hui's expression didn't change, and his attacks were neither fast nor slow. Generally speaking, the divine art could last for 100 breaths, which was 5 minutes. Some divine arts of a higher level could last longer. For example, Tsing Hui's 2nd level divine art could last twice as long as the cooldown time was reduced to 15 days. However, Serene was at the 10th rank, and Tsing Hui didn't think that he could last for 5 minutes. Therefore, in the following battles, he maintained a steady pace and was neither arrogant nor rash. Damn it, Serene seemed to realize what Qing Su was trying to do. He cursed angrily and abruptly drew a unique treasure. The treasure exploded, turning into over 100 strands of sword chi that ripped through space. Each strand of sword chi was no weaker than the full-powered strike of a blue netherworld expert, forcing Qing Su to retreat. Serene took advantage of this opportunity to speed up. He tore through the air and tore through the sound barrier. In the blink of an eye, he was about to disappear from Tsing Hui's sight. Unfortunately, Tsing Hui had already left his spirit imprint on Serene. How could he let him escape? After 100 kilometers, Tsing Hui appeared behind Serene again. He was no longer in a hurry to chase after Serene. Instead, he chose to keep Serene within his attack range. Tsing Hui, seeing that there was nowhere to run, Serene roared with hatred. Apart from today's misunderstanding, I don't have any grudges with you. Are you really willing to be the Hunyuan heaven's sex dog and kill me? If you were really so innocent and harmless, you wouldn't have targeted Nalan Fei. This is clearly a trap set by you. Only those with evil intentions would step into a trap. Pain flashed in Serene's eyes. My entire sect died because of the Hunyuan heaven sect. If it weren't for the inheritance, how could I have achieved what I have today? Now that I've cultivated to the Spirit Chi Unite stage, I have the right to take revenge on the Hunyuan heaven sect. What's wrong with killing the Hunyuan heaven sect's true disciples and making the Hunyuan heaven sect higher-ups regret what they did back then? Tsing Hui didn't want to argue with Serene. Perhaps Serene had his own reasons for killing the Hunyuan heaven sect's true disciples, but that didn't mean that the Hunyuan heaven sect's true disciples couldn't fight back. If a robber robbed someone because they were poor, wouldn't the robber be allowed to fight back? 5 minutes quickly passed. As the time passed, Serene's aura fell back to the intermediate stage of the Spirit Chi Unite stage. Even though he possessed the battle prowess of a regular peak fusing with his Saint-grade aura, it was still nothing before Ching Su, a late fusing expert who had cultivated 2 types of God-grade aura. Before long, he was struck by Ching Su's sword. The scorching true chi of the Golden Crow pierced his body, leaving behind 3 holes. The true chi that invaded his body wreaked havoc in his body recklessly, burning up all his meridians. Tsing Hui. Serene screamed in pain, but he didn't stubbornly fight to the death with Tsing Hui. Let me go, I can't die. I can't die before I get my revenge. As long as you let me go, I'm willing to promise you anything. I'm willing to be your subordinate. I've awakened the bloodline of a divine beast and cultivated Saint-grade gang chi. My potential is limitless. As long as you let me live, I'm willing to be the sharpest sword in your hand and sweep away all the opponents who stand in your way of ascending the Hunyuan heaven sect. I also have some treasures that contain Taoist rhymes. I'm willing to give them to you as long as you let me live and give me a chance to avenge my family. Who is your enemy? Tsing Hui asked. Jiesu. It's the Hunyuan heaven sect's holy son, Jiesu. Serene gnashed his teeth, his voice filled with endless resentment. Jiesu. Tsing Hui thought of Nalan Fei's plan to become the sect master of the Hunyuan heaven sect. If she really wanted to become the sect master of the Hunyuan heaven sect, Jiesu would be an obstacle that she couldn't avoid. There would be a great battle between the two. Thinking of this, he immediately said, "Give me your chaos method and the things in your personal space. I can promise you that when I have enough strength, I will kill Jiesu and avenge you." Are you telling the truth? Jiesu is the chosen of the Hunyuan heaven sect. Not only has he cultivated divine grade gang chi, but he has also stepped into the spirit and chi unification stage. He also has the identity of a high-grade son of chaos, and has top experts protecting him at all times. So what if he's a high-grade son of chaos? No matter how high his chaos level is, how can it be higher than mine? If I wasn't afraid of the Hunyuan heaven sect's grand elder and the top experts of the saint stage, I would have killed him already. Tsing Hui's tone was faintly arrogant. You're also a high-grade son of chaos? Serene's eyes widened in disbelief. That's right. Not only me, but Nalan Fei is also a high-grade son of chaos. Serene immediately understood when he heard this. I understand. She's a high-grade son of chaos and has a high chance of reaching the spirit and chi unification stage. Once she becomes a peak master, she will definitely be one of the peak masters with the most potential. If she can reach the blue netherworld stage before Jiesu and become the deputy sect master, her her chances of becoming the sect master will be higher than Jie Su's. In order to pave the way for her, you'll find a way to kill Jie Su no matter what. I've told you everything I need to tell you. You should also understand that you have no hope of living after hearing this news. It's time for you to make a choice. Xie Ren's expression was twisted, and his eyes were filled with hatred and malevolence. I'm willing to hand over my chaos arts and give you all the Dao treasures I've obtained over the years, but I have one condition. I want you to sacrifice Jie Su's head to me while you're still alive. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest in peace. Xing Hui nodded. As long as he doesn't die without a corpse, I can promise you that. A trace of unwillingness and pain flashed across Xie Ren's eyes, but he knew that he had no hope of living in front of Xing Hui. In the end, he could only sigh sorrowfully. Chapter 215. Xing Hui summoned the Saint Winged Dragonhawk and brought Xie Ren into the Saint Winged Dragonhawk. At the same time, he took out the blood-red statue. With a flash of sword light, blood splattered onto the blood-red statue. The statue, which was already bright red, suddenly glowed red. A thin layer of blood mist quickly appeared on the surface of the statue. The blood mist covered Xie Ren's body. Xie Ren screamed in pain as it quickly enveloped him. Xing Hui stared at the blood-red statue in front of him. He was completely focused, not wanting to miss a single detail. After a short while, the blood mist had completely corroded Xie Ren's body, turning him into a part of the blood mist. This thicker blood mist quickly returned to the blood-red statue, making the blood-red color of the statue seem even redder. Xing Hui's gaze lingered on the blood-red statue for a while. When the redness gradually dissipated, his gaze finally landed on the statue's open right palm. In the center of its palm, there was a broken blood-red crystal. However, compared to the broken crystal that Xing Hui had taken away earlier, this one was 60 times smaller. It was only about 1% the size of a complete blood-red crystal. In other words, if Qing Su wanted the blood-red statue to produce a complete crystal that could be exchanged for 10 rhymes of ways, he would need to kill at least 100 cultivators with the bloodlines of divine beasts. As a matter of fact, it was even possible that cultivators with higher realms and purer bloodlines will be able to offer even more crystals. 100 cultivators with divine beast bloodlines sounded like a lot. After all, in the entire eastern wilderness, there were only 10 to 20 cultivators with divine beast bloodlines. In the entire continent, there were less than 300 cultivators with divine beast bloodlines. At most, it was equivalent to 30 Tao rhymes. It was not worthy of its status as a divine beast. However, one should not forget that compared to Tian Wang, the eastern wilderness was heavily monopolized by divine codices. The cultivation level of the eastern wilderness was much lower. Furthermore, the number of cultivators was far less than Tian Wang. If this ratio was applied to Tian Wang, the number of cultivators with divine beast bloodlines would increase by at least 100 times. 100 times. Only more, no less. That would be 3,000 Tao rhymes. Coupled with the cultivators with divine beast bloodlines from other continents, this number would double. Finally, 10,000. Thinking of this, Xing Hui's pupils suddenly shrank. 10,000 Taoist rhymes. What kind of concept was that? Back then, countless mighty figures had fought and even shattered the divine wilderness. The item that carried the Tao contained only a few thousand Tao charms and had yet to break through 10,000. Once the value of the blood-colored statue in front of him was excavated to its limit, it could bring him more than 10,000 Tao charms. One could imagine that once this news spread out, countless peerless experts who lived in seclusion in the mountains and forests would come out of seclusion and fight over this supreme divine object. The entire continent would be swept up in a storm of blood because of this blood-colored statue. Ooh, Xing Hui panted heavily. Not long ago, he felt that this blood-colored statue was a bit useless. It didn't have the hundreds of Tao runes that Xiachen had mentioned, but now, after his experiment, the value of 10,000 Taoist rhymes had truly frightened Qing Su. But soon, he gradually calmed down. 10,000 Taoist rhymes was just an imaginary number after all. In order to obtain these 10,000 Taoist rhymes, he would have to destroy the entire world. That's right, it was the entire world. The upper limit of a ferocious beast's growth was the immortal level. According to the ranking of the ferocious beasts, some of the weaker ones could only grow to the third or fourth level of the immortal level. The upper limit of a spirit beast growth was the saint level. It was the same principle. However, in order to grow to the saint level with a spirit beast bloodline, one had to awaken an outstanding bloodline among the spirit beasts. One had to have an extraordinary background with a large amount of resources, or one could only rely on one's own talent and comprehension. Those who did not meet these three criteria, even if they were lucky enough to break through to the saint level, would need to spend an extremely long time and might even become old. Spirit beasts were already like this, and above, that was the saint level corresponding to the saint level beasts. In theory, only saint level beasts could cultivate to the peak of the saint level. But in theory, it was like the lifespan of a mortal. In theory, a mortal's lifespan could reach 150 years. But how many people could actually live to that stage? Therefore, those who truly stood at the peak of the world were usually those who awakened the bloodline of the divine beasts. Those who could cultivate the bloodline of the divine beasts were usually those who stood at the peak. If Tsing Hui really wanted to go for these 10,000 Taoist rhymes, he would definitely become the enemy of the entire world. Such a consequence, it was definitely not something he could bear now. Instead of pinning his hopes on the blood-colored statue, he might as well think of unifying the world and continuously excavating the treasures that carried the Taoist rhymes in the world. In the end, the benefits would not necessarily be any worse than destroying the world. This divine object is really extremely evil. It actually wants people to destroy the world. Tsing Hui collected his thoughts and put the blood-colored statue into his personal space. He then activated the Saint-Winged Dragon Hawk and went to the sea region where Nalan Fei was waiting. How is it? Seeing that Tsing Hui had put away the Saint-Winged Dragon Hawk, Nalan Fei flew over on her sword. We have already tested the use of the blood-colored statue. This blood-colored statue is very evil. Sacrificing a living being with a powerful bloodline can indeed make it bestow a treasure, and this treasure is the blood-colored crystal that contains the Taoist rhymes. However, the price to pay to obtain a complete blood-colored crystal is too high. Even if we kill all the living beings with the bloodline of the divine beasts in the entire eastern wilderness, we can only obtain 3 or 4 blood-colored crystals in the end, which is 30 to 40 Taoist rhymes. Nalan Fei nodded when she heard Qing Su's words. According to what you have said, this item is indeed evil. Other than those great evildoers of the demonic path who are astonishingly powerful and would easily sacrifice a city, a country, or an entire continent, no one else is able to use it to its full potential. Moreover, even if those great evildoers of the demonic path use this item to continuously sacrifice and obtain a great amount of benefits, they will definitely offend one or many almighty beings and end up being killed by the other party. After all, those who can awaken the bloodline of a divine beast more or less have powerful connections. They might even be disciples that some mysterious expert has secretly taken in. That's right. This statue shouldn't be called a divine item, but a demonic item. Although possessing it seems to be equivalent to possessing the ticket to the peak, the hidden dangers behind it are enough to cause people to lose their lives. This can be seen from Bei Zhao's end. When I look at this item, I feel a kind of tremble from my soul. It can be seen that I can't resist the mysterious power in it at all. In the end, I can't resist using this blood-colored statue and fall into the demonic path. For safety's sake, this blood-colored statue should be kept by you, Tsing Hui. Your spiritual will is stronger than mine, so it's safer to leave it with you. Nalan Fei added, if you also feel that it's difficult to resist, I'll tell my master and give it to Purple Shao Taoist priest. Leave it with me for the time being. I'll leave it in a corner of my personal space. It won't affect anything. All right, then you be careful. Sing Hui nodded. At the same time, he said regretfully, "It's a pity that Seren's corpse was destroyed after he sacrificed himself to the blood-colored statue. I'm afraid you won't be able to take his head to receive the reward. Are there any symbolic things he left behind? Does his flying sword and divine weapon count?" As Qing Su said that, he took out all his flying swords and divine weapons. A grade 5 flying sword. Good stuff. I won't give this flying sword to the Hunyuan Heaven sect. The sect's reward is only a grade 6 divine weapon, and its value may not be higher than this flying sword. But this divine weapon is enough to prove that I killed Serene. This is a great contribution, and it will be of great benefit to my status in the Hunyuan Heaven sect. Up to you. Sing Hui chuckled. Since the matter here has been resolved, I'll return to the sea first. The Life Moon Alliance has just been established, and there are still many things to deal with. In particular, the Blood Dragon King is eyeing us covetously. It's not good to leave for too long, lest the Blood Dragon King has an opportunity to take advantage of. All right, go ahead. The Life Moon Alliance is currently one of the top factions in the sea. As this faction officially enters the Hunyuan Heaven sect sites, I'm afraid it won't be long before a deputy sect master-level figure comes to recruit you. To prevent any unforeseen circumstances from occurring, I will do my best to break through to the Spirit Chi Unity stage. At that time, I will become a peak master and bring you into the Hunyuan Heaven sect's territory. At that time, those deputy sect master-level figures won't have any excuse to mobilize the Hunyuan Heaven sect's forces to deal with you. Sing Hui nodded. The vice sect master of the Hunyuan Heaven sect was different from the vice sect master of the Green Lotus Sword sect. The Hunyuan Heaven sect was a second-tier top sect. In the entire eastern wilderness, only the Creation Mystical sect and the Limitless Sword sect dared to say that they were superior to it. As for the Green Lotus Sword sect, it was one level lower than the Hunyuan Heaven sect, which had a Saint Stage expert. The number of supreme elders in such a sect was several times that of the Green Lotus Sword sect. Naturally, they were not as noble as the supreme elders of the Green Lotus Sword sect. If a vice sect master was willing to pay some benefits, it would not be difficult to ask a supreme elder to help. Nalan Fei had a faint smile on her face. Speaking of which, I never thought that you, who was not very talented in the Cloud Desolate City back then, would reach such a level. Not only have you cultivated to the level where you can fight against a Green Netherworld stage expert, but you have also created such a large force in the sea. It's a little unbelievable just thinking about it. It's just a coincidence. In fact, it's not just you. I also never thought that I would be able to reach such a level. Even if you rely on a deputy sect master, you'll still be able to obtain an extremely high status. But now, you'll have to submit to a peak master like me. Speaking of which, I'm taking advantage of you. When my peak is truly established and I obtain your support, it will become the #1 peak in the Hunyuan Heaven sect. Its reputation will be strong enough to compete with a deputy sect master. Then I will wait for the day you establish your peak. Qing Su smiled. Just when he was about to add something, he received a frantic message from Ling Yu in the personal space of the Chaos Divine Hall. "Young Master, there's been a change in the ocean. Please return immediately." Chapter 216. "Sir, there's a change in the ocean. Please return immediately," Ling Yu said anxiously. Sing Hui's expression froze. "What's going on? Is the Blood WYRM King here?" "It's a tsunami. A huge tsunami is coming. Currently, countless islands have been destroyed. Apart from the super islands with a diameter of more than 1,000 kilometers, many medium-sized islands, small islands, and micro-islands have been destroyed by the tsunami. Not even their corpses are left. Currently, the tsunami has advanced 40,000 kilometers, and it will reach the Life Alliance in another 20,000 kilometers. Currently, everyone is waiting for your final order, Alliance Leader." Are we going to continue defending and retract our forces to the large-sized islands with a diameter of more than 1,000 kilometers, or are we going to retreat immediately and take our precious resources inland? It can drown an island that's hundreds of kilometers in diameter. Even an underwater volcano shouldn't cause such a huge commotion, right? Could it be that the sea beast is causing trouble? It's indeed the sea beast causing trouble. Ling Yu smiled bitterly. A bitter smile appeared on Ling Yu's face. However, we don't have the qualifications to fight against that sea beast. It's Xuanwu, the sacred beast Xuanwu, one of the 6 saints, the sacred beast Xuanwu. Moreover, this Xuanwu has already reached stage 9, which means it's at the 3rd level of the saint realm. Xuanwu at the 3rd level of the saint realm? Xing Hui was stunned. As one of the 6 sacred beasts, the black tortoise was the strongest among the sacred beasts. If it was in the sea and went deep into the sea, no one would be able to do anything to it except for those almighties who had cultivated divine powers. If such a sea beast wanted to create a tsunami to cause trouble, not to mention the many islands in the sea, even if it was inland, all the coastal forces would be completely destroyed. Even the overseas forces that the evolved mysterious sect had been developing vigorously would be reduced to ashes in front of it. Wait, the sacred beast Xuanwu at the saint realm. At this moment, Xing Hui thought of something. Although there were some sacred beasts in the ocean, there were very few of them. In particular, a top-tier sacred beast like Xuanwu was extremely rare. It couldn't have appeared out of nowhere. Then, he thought of the Xuanwu cub, Hao Ming's sister, who was an overlord of the sea, who had left for a long time. Xing Hui suddenly had a bad premonition. Could it be that the Xuanwu sacred beast has returned? If that was the case, they would be in big trouble. If the Xuanwu sacred beast were to find out that he had actually subdued Hao Ming and kept him as a pet, who knew how furious this powerful 9th-rank sacred beast would be? And once a 9th-level water overlord was enraged, the Life League would be completely uprooted by such a small force. Alliance Master, how should we deal with this? How much time do we have? Although the Class 9 Holy Beast Xuanwu's speed isn't fast, it's definitely not slow either. It's advancing over 10,000 kilometers every day. It'll take at most 2 days for it to reach the Life Moon Alliance. Xing Hui rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. It wasn't easy for him to establish a force overseas, and he was about to borrow the Life Moon Alliance's strength to collect Taoist rhymes. He didn't expect such an unforeseen event to occur. He wasn't willing to give up such a large territory overseas and return to the mainland at the risk of being attacked by the 10 great sacred sects. Gather the precious resources and gather them on the large islands to avoid the tsunami. I'll return immediately. Yes. Ling Yu hesitated for a moment before continuing. According to the people of the Life Moon Alliance, this Xuanwu sacred beast should be the overlord of this sea region back then. However, it was only a 2nd-level saint previously, which is 8th level. Furthermore, it spent most of its time in deep sleep and cultivation. It didn't cause any trouble, but now that it has ended its cultivation and seclusion, this sea region won't be peaceful anymore. Someone suggested that the Life Moon Alliance move out of this sea region and move to other sea regions, such as the Yuheng Sea City. Let's not make any moves for now and avoid the tsunami. I'll think of a way to deal with it. Xing Hui pondered for a moment and finally decided to meet this 9th-rank Xuanwu. This Xuanwu clearly knew a lot about the Son of Chaos, which could be seen from its teachings to Hao Ming. Currently, his chaotic level had reached level 24. It wouldn't be long before he stepped into level 25. With this identity, he might be able to reach an agreement with this 9th-rank Xuanwu and coexist peacefully. If all went well, the Life Moon Alliance could even have a real sacred beast to protect the sea. From then on, they wouldn't have to fear the attacks of the 10 great sacred sects. Even if an accident happened and the Xuanwu attacked him directly, it wouldn't be a problem. The black tortoise had immeasurable power in the sea, and it was difficult for anyone who was not an almighty to fight it. In fact, if the black tortoise dived deep into the sea, Even an almighty would have a hard time dealing with it. However, in the air, he wasn't a master of Xuanwu. As long as he flew on his sword and didn't stand on the ground, the Xuanwu sacred beast might not be able to do anything to him. Something happened overseas? Nailin Fei asked when she saw that Xing Hui seemed to have recovered from the Chaos Shrine. A ninth-rank overlord of the sea returned to the inland sea and caused a huge tsunami. I have to go and take a look. A ninth-rank overlord of the sea? Nailin Fei was shocked. A Class 9 creature. That's equivalent to a Saint Realm 3rd Heaven expert. Such a terrifying existence would be able to flatten a great sage sect if it was on land. Apart from the Limitless Sword sect and the Creation Mystical sect, no one else would be able to withstand the attacks of such a sea creature. You should avoid it before it arrives. Xing Hui shook his head. I plan to give it a try. If it's successful, the Life Moon Alliance really won't have to worry about the attacks of the 10 great sacred sects, and we can unify the overseas. Unify the overseas. Nailin Fei frowned. The Wuji Sword sect and the Creation Mystical sect won't allow a force to unify the overseas. Even if you set up the Life Moon Alliance's headquarters near the Hunyuan Heaven sect, the Creation Mystical sect and the Wuji Sword sect won't let it go so easily. That's why I plan to try it on this sacred beast. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Xing Hui didn't waste any more time. Go back and cultivate in seclusion. Try to break through to the Spirit Chi Unity stage as soon as possible. Nailin Fei nodded and said, the Life League is already a huge force. There are quite a few green Netherworld realm experts in it. With my current strength, I can't interfere too much with it. You have to be careful. I can't help you anymore. Xing Hui smiled. Everyone has their own path. I'll walk my own path. Nailin Fei nodded. She watched as Xing Hui waved and left on his sword. She was a little absent-minded as she watched Xing Hui's figure disappear into the horizon. Once upon a time, the ordinary boy from the Zhua family, who had always followed Lan Yutong, had actually grown to such an extent. He wondered if Lan Yutong, who had abandoned him for the sake of an inner disciple token, was regretting her short-sightedness at this moment. However, soon, when she broke through to the Spirit Chi Unity stage, opened up a mountain, and took the Life Moon Alliance as her subordinate force, Xing Hui would be able to openly go in and out of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. She was looking forward to seeing Nailin Fei's reaction when she saw Xing Hui, who came with the Life Moon Alliance's power. Xing Hui used all his strength to fly on his sword. With the power of the upper grade class, 6 flying sword, his speed was naturally very fast. However, he was still inland. Even if he flew on his sword to the Life Moon Alliance, it still took him 4 to 5 days to reach the Life Moon Alliance. When he arrived at the sea area where the Life Moon Alliance was located, the waves that swept across the sea area had already dissipated. However, there were still traces of being submerged on countless islands. Even the medium-sized islands with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers only had some places on the highest peaks that were not submerged by the tsunami. The civilization that human cultivators had spent decades and centuries to build was destroyed by a Class 9 sacred beast. Overseas, after all, the sea beasts were the rulers. Humans could temporarily live in this sea area, but they could not become the overlords of this area. Life and death, honor and disgrace were all in the hands of these top overseas overlords. When Xing Hui arrived overseas, he did not immediately go to the Moon Lake Island where the Life Moon Alliance and the others were temporarily at. Instead, he went directly to the Dragon Slaying Island at the fastest speed. The Dragon Slaying Island was also one of the top overseas islands. It had a vast territory. Although the disaster was serious, most of the areas that were submerged were only a few hundred kilometers away from the edge. The core area was preserved. As the core of the Dragon Slaying Island, Dragon Slaying City was also safe and sound. Xing Hui did not enter the Dragon Slaying City. Instead, he went directly to a small lake outside the Dragon Slaying City. Standing by the lake, Xing Hui carefully sensed for a while. He suddenly frowned. They really left. Then he activated the Xuanwu mark on his hand, and since the location of the Xuanwu cub, Haoming, it was about 10,000 kilometers away from the dragon-slaying island. It was the location of the cave in the sea where the Xuanwu resided. Although the dragon-slaying island was affected by the disaster, it was not serious. If that level 9 Xuanwu was really furious because his brother signed a contract with me, this island that belongs to me would definitely not be spared. I'm afraid that it would have been completely destroyed by the Xuanwu. Deducing from this, there is still room for discussion. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui recalled the location of the cave in the sea where the Xuanwu resided. Then, he once again flew towards the sea where the level 9 Xuanwu resided. Because he was flying on his sword this time, his speed was much faster. In less than a day, Tsing Hui had already arrived at the sea where the Xuanwu resided. When he arrived at this sea area, he could see sea beasts galloping everywhere. The strong sea beasts were constantly killing each other, stirring up the sea area into chaos. From the looks of it, the level 9 Xuanwu was purging the remnants of the Jiuying rebellion. Tsing Hui looked around. There were no large islands nearby. His hopes of conversing with the level 9 Xuanwu on land were dashed. In order to express his sincerity, he directly stood in the air and activated the mark. Haoming, please ask your sister to come to the surface of the sea. I need to have a good talk with her about your matter. Chapter 217. Haoming, please ask your sister to come to the surface. I need to have a good talk with her about you. Tsing Hui activated the imprint in his hand. Someone seemed to be talking just now. A pretentious voice came from the imprint. Tsing Hui's face immediately darkened. Haoming, ask your sister to come out immediately. I have something to say to her. The wind is too strong. I can't hear you clearly. Tsing Hui raised his head to take a look. The sea breeze was indeed strong, but a Xuanwu beast like you is thousands of meters under the sea. What kind of wind could blow you there? Haoming, do you really think that I won't dare to do anything to you just because your sister is here? You rumble. Before Tsing Hui could finish his words, the sea below was already surging with waves. Circles of water continuously spread out in all directions, as if a huge monster was about to emerge from the water. Vaguely, a cold voice came from the torrent. What do you want? Tsing Hui's face changed slightly. As the waves receded, a huge monster with a diameter of hundreds of meters, like a small continent, suddenly rose from the sea. With the appearance of this huge monster, the surrounding water Yuan Qi became extremely active. The sea breeze was not strong, but waves splashed everywhere within hundreds of kilometers. The waves were turbulent, and layers of 10-meter-tall waves continuously spread out in all directions. It looked like a tsunami. Xuanwu, how dare you enslave my Xuanwu tribe when I'm not here? How dare you? The Xuanwu sacred beast that rose from the bottom of the sea was furious. The next moment, the heaven Yuan Qi in the void violently gathered. Countless clouds seemed to be stirred by an invisible giant hand, forming a huge vortex. The clouds in the vortex constantly collided with each other, producing large amounts of fire and lightning. Within a few breaths, the sky above the sea that was originally cloudless became turbulent, as if a thunderstorm was about to arrive. Your Excellency Xuanwu, I came here specially to discuss the matter of your brother Haoming with you. Is this how you treat your guests? My sister's name is Haoming. The voice of baby Haoming came from the Xuanwu imprint in his hand. Treat our guests? Our Black Tortoise clan has always been extremely welcoming and warm towards our guests. However, our Black Tortoise clan has never known what it means to be merciful towards our evil guests and enemies. Anyone who dares to offend our Xuanwu tribe will be severely punished by our Xuanwu tribe. Back then, your younger brother, Haoming, was chased by a semi-holy beast, Jiuying. He was in a miserable situation. No matter what, I was the one who saved him. Strictly speaking, I could be considered his savior. Even after I signed a master-servant contract with him, I was not too harsh on him. Right now, I have come here with good intentions to discuss this matter with you. However, your attitude makes me see no sincerity in your desire to resolve this matter peacefully. You should be thankful that you once saved Hao Ming's life. Otherwise, those islands you built and those human forces would have been completely destroyed by the tsunami I caused. Now, since you want to talk, I'll talk with you. The master-servant contract can be maintained, but the positions of the master and servant must be reversed. Hao Ming is the master, and you are the servant of the human race. Impossible. Xing Hui refused without hesitation. My bottom line is that I can cancel the master-servant contract. From now on, our forces will be in a strategic alliance. Before Xing Hui finished speaking, the Xuanwu sacred beast Hao Ming flew into a rage. You don't have a choice. Today, you have to agree even if you don't want to. Rumble. As soon as Hao Ming finished speaking, thunder rumbled in the void. A bolt of lightning containing terrifying power tore through the clouds and bombarded Xing Hui. The electric shock wave produced by the collision of positive and negative electrons created a terrifying heat when it landed on Xing Hui's body. Even though Xing Hui had summoned the golden flame armor immediately, his shoulder was still charred black. The scorching heat made him feel as if his body was melting. Hao Ming! Xing Hui roared angrily. I came here with good intentions to negotiate, but this is your attitude. Since you don't want to talk anymore, I'll do as you wish. Let's go to war. However, once our forces start fighting, you'll have to wait to collect your brother's corpse. As soon as he finished speaking, the flying sword under Xing Hui's feet whistled. His entire body was like a stream of light shooting out of the thunderstorm in an instant. How dare you? Die. Rumble. Even more clouds gathered. The positive and negative electrons within the thunderstorm constantly collided to form even more shocking bolts of lightning. The power contained within each bolt was already at the level of a prominent divine expert's attack. This was because there was only a short time, so the amount of lightning that Hao Ming could gather was limited. If he had enough time to gather a thundercloud that covered an area of over 1,000 kilometers, the lightning that descended from the thundercloud would be as powerful as a saint expert's attack. Buzz buzz. A red light appeared around Xing Hui, protecting his entire body. Yang devouring bead. With the protection of the Yang devouring bead, the high temperature of the thunderstorm greatly reduced the damage to him. At most, it would only contain a little bit of impact. As Xing Hui fled with all his might, he was getting further and further away from the attack range. Soon, Xing Hui would be out of Hao Ming's attack range. It's over, it's over. Bao Bao is done for. Master will fiercely whip me. Woo. Sister, Bao Bao said to be gentle. Being gentle and cute will make people like you. You're not gentle to Master. Hao Ming immediately had an aggrieved expression as he rolled around in the ocean currents, acting like a spoiled child. When she saw Hao Ming's current state, and how Qing Su had gradually left her range of attack with the Yang devouring pearl, how you showed a sliver of helplessness in an extremely human-like manner. She immediately called out to Qing Su in the air, "Stop. I can agree to your conditions. If you want me to stop, disperse the thundercloud in the sky first." Xing Hui said as he fled on his flying sword. How you saw that she could not do anything to Xing Hui, and she could not really risk her little brother being tortured to death to chase Xing Hui inland. In the end, she could only disperse the thundercloud in the sky. Before long, the sky returned to its calm, cloudless blue. We can have a proper discussion now. Xing Hui stopped, but he did not put away the Yang devouring bead, even though he knew that Su Anwu would need 3 to 4 breaths of time to form a thunderous attack. I agree to your conditions. I'll remove the master-servant contract with Hao Ming and form a strategic alliance with you human forces. How you looked at Xing Hui in the sky and spoke in a low voice, her voice filled with suppressed anger. Sister, didn't you say that following a high-grade Son of Chaos would bring many benefits? I can see that Master Son of Chaos aura is getting denser and denser. He should. Shut up. How you stopped Hao Ming's words and immediately reprimanded him in a fit of anger. HM. Xing Hui looked at Hao Yu, who was reprimanding Hao Ming, and his heart skipped a beat. Then, he couldn't help but think of the little things that Hao Yu had done when she revealed herself. Hao Ming didn't seem to have any intention of taking his life. Only a small amount of lightning actually descended from the thundercloud, and their targets weren't vital points. They seemed to be more of a deterrent. Could it be? Human, remove the master-servant contract with Hao Ming. From now on, we're allies. Let's negotiate a new contract of equality. This is the draft I've drawn up. Take a look. After Hao Yu finished speaking, a mental consciousness mixed with information swept over him. Sing Hui accepted it in his mind. The information contained the various terms of the contract of equality. Contract of equality. If he had the ability, he could provide Sing Hui with a certain amount of help. If Sing Hui had the ability, he would unconditionally provide him with the cultivation resources he needed. When he saw this, Sing Hui immediately understood. This rank 9 Xuanwu had clearly seen through his identity as a high-grade son of chaos and wanted to use this identity to obtain enough cultivation resources for him to evolve to a higher level. Sing Hui looked at the contract for a moment and quickly found a loophole. He said, I can provide you with the cultivation resources you need, but not without conditions. If you need any resources, you have to exchange them with resources of equal value. Moreover, I can't give them to you immediately when you need them. We have to make an agreement that we can only trade once a year. Moreover, I have to take the initiative to trade with you, not the other way around. Hao Yu's tone instantly turned hostile. Don't forget that I saved your younger brother's life. Are you planning on biting the hand that feeds you? Moreover, even if I really offend you, I can just flee inland. Would you dare to chase after me? A rank 9 Xuanwu is naturally invincible in the ocean. No one could do anything to you. But once you're on the case, let alone the great powers of Heaven Wasteland domain, even the top figures of the Eastern Wilderness will think of ways to kill you and refine your blood. When that time comes, you won't get any benefits other than destroying the forces I've established overseas. You'll even have to pay with your younger brother's life. I'm so scared. Sister, just agree to his request. Hao Ming fanned the flames. Shut up, Hao Yu shouted sternly. Besides, I'm not afraid to tell you that my chaos level has already reached rank 24. The higher my chaos level, the greater the increase in my talent. Given my current chaos level, it's not impossible for me to be on par with you for a short period of time, or even surpass you. You have to understand the consequences of offending a top son of chaos. Hao Yu took a deep look at Sing Hui, then took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, All right, I agree to your conditions. If I need to buy anything, I'll exchange it with something of equal value. Good. Seeing that the two had finally reached a consensus, Sing Hui smiled and slightly modified the conditions of the contract. He also sent a mental message to Hao Yu. After receiving Sing Hui's modified contract, Hao Yu looked at it and found no loopholes, so he nodded. Immediately, an equal contract formation appeared above his head. As Sing Hui poured a part of his mental power into it, the formation quickly turned into a mark and branded itself on Sing Hui's hand. Sing Hui did not hesitate and quickly removed the master-servant contract between him and Hao Ming. A rank 5 sacred beast, it was no longer worth Sing Hui's attention. Chapter 2:18. After reaching an agreement with Xuanwu Hao Yu, Sing Hui heaved a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. Now, no force would be able to stop the Life Alliance's development. With the Life Alliance's current power, it was already insufficient for the 10 sacred sects to send 1 or 2 Immortal Stage 6 experts. If they dared to send a Saint Grand Elder, Hao Yu would definitely make it impossible for them to return. Any sect, even the evolved mysterious sect, which was the number 1 sect in the Eastern Wilderness, would suffer a great loss if they lost a Saint Grand Elder. If it were the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect, the 6 Paths of God and Devil, the Qinquan Sacred Land, or the Shinshao Sword Sect, the loss of 1 or 2 saints would be equivalent to the collapse of half of the sect. By then, even if they were unwilling to acknowledge the existence of the Life Alliance, they would not be able to do anything. Whoosh! Sing Hui flew on his sword and traveled thousands of miles. Soon, he arrived at the new headquarters of the Life Alliance, Moon Lake Island. Although Moon Lake Island was not as prosperous as the former Shaoyang Sea City, it was vast and had greater development potential than the former Shaoyang Sea City. As a large number of experts from the Life Alliance came to Moon Lake Island to seek refuge, the entire Moon Lake Island developed at a speed visible to the naked eye. As Tsing Hui had already informed Ling Yu beforehand, when Tsing Hui arrived at Moon Lake Island, Ling Yu was already waiting with the higher-ups of the Life Alliance at the highest peak of Moon Lake Island. At this moment, on the full moon palace square at the peak of the mountain, 6 green netherworld experts, including Ten Sha of Gojoseon, Moon Lake Master, Celestial Dipper Grand Sage, Heavenly Devil Cult Master, Maha Cult Master, and Zhu Conk Holy Mother, as well as 128 Unity of Divine Chi experts, were all gathered. When they saw Tsing Hui arrive on his sword, everyone stepped forward and bowed with cupped fists. "Welcome, Alliance Leader." Hundreds of people shouted in unison. Even the weakest of them was at the Unity of Divine Chi realm. Their aura was truly mighty. Tsing Hui swept his gaze across these people one by one, focusing on Heavenly Devil Cult Master Maha, Ancestral Conch Sacred Mother, and the rest. These people were all green Netherworld realm experts that Ling Yu had subdued. They had never met Tsing Hui, the mysterious leader of the Life Alliance. Therefore, when Tsing Hui sized them up, they were also sizing up Tsing Hui with a trace of arrogance in their eyes. Very good. Tsing Hui saw the arrogance in their eyes, but he didn't point it out. The Life Alliance has developed well during this period of time. Vice Alliance Masters and Elders, thank you for your efforts. It is our honor to be able to work for the Life Moon Alliance and see the Life Moon Alliance grow stronger day by day. The Moon Lake Master said with a smile. Chief, you came at the right time. Let's discuss the future development of the Life Alliance as soon as possible. We can't stay still just because you're not here. Don't forget that there's a powerful Class 9 sacred beast around us, eyeing us covetously. So Xiao stepped forward and asked the question that everyone was most concerned about. His words immediately received everyone's agreement. A Class 9 Xuanwu is entrenched in this sea. As long as it gets angry, disaster will be waiting for us. That's right. I think we should move out of this sea area as soon as possible and find a safer place. Compared to the Xuanwu Holy Beast, our Life Moon Alliance is a small thing that can be easily destroyed. Every day we stay here increases the danger we face. Even though Chief Tsing Hui is the leader, he shouldn't put all of us in danger. Many elders chimed in one after another, their faces filled with worry. Some of the elders who had personally witnessed the mighty power of the tsunami had faces filled with fear. Clearly, they were scared out of their wits by the terrifying might of the Stage 9 Black Tortoise. You don't have to worry about the Xuanwu. I've already taken care of it. You can do what you were doing before, but change the place of work from Shaoyang Sea City to Moon Lake Island. Tsing Hui said. Taken care of? Tsing Hui's words stunned everyone. In particular, Zhou Xiao, who wanted to use this matter to slightly suppress Qing Su's unworthy reputation as the Alliance Master, was stunned. He only returned to his senses after quite a while. Alliance Master, that's a Class 9 Holy Beast. It's equivalent to a human cultivator at the 3rd layer of the Saint Realm. Someone like that doesn't even exist in the entire Eastern Wastelands. Can you deal with a holy beast like that, Alliance Master? How is that possible? That's right. In front of a Class 9 Holy Beast, let alone you, even if all the experts of the Life Moon Alliance gathered together, they would be killed with a sneeze. Chief, please don't joke around. If the Alliance leader can't make a decision on this matter, let's hold a vote among the elders and let the elders make a decision. The elders echoed Zui Zhao's words again. Tsing Hui glanced at them. Most of them were experts at the syncretism of Spirit Realm in Shaoyang Sea City, and Zui Hunyuan and the others were the leaders. Shut up. Ling Yu couldn't help but yell at the elders when she saw that the Maha Cult Master, the Zulyuo Holy Mother, and the Heavenly Demon Cult Master were all waiting to see a good show. Since the chief says it's taken care of, then it's really taken care of. Are you questioning the chief's ability? The elders who had been making a fuss immediately quieted down at Ling Yu's yell, but their expressions showed that they were still unconvinced. Saying we couldn't be bothered to spend too much effort on the Life Moon Alliance. To him, the Life Moon Alliance's true purpose was to collect items that could carry Tao. He didn't want to use the Life Moon Alliance's power to establish his own sect. The chaos in front of him made him unhappy. Ling Yu, I handed the Life Moon Alliance to you so that you could develop it with all your might, but it seems that you didn't handle things properly. Ling Yu trembled in fear and quickly half-knelt on the ground. Please calm down, sir. That's enough. Xing Hui waved his hand and glanced at Zhuo Xiao, then at the elders who were making the most noise. You may be elders of the Elders Guild, but I'm sure you know the consequences of questioning the chief. Now let me ask you this. Who is questioning my words? If you're prepared to face the consequences, then step forward. The elders who were being stared at by Xing Hui panicked and looked at each other, their eyes flinching. However, 3 of them seemed to be Zhuo Xiao's direct subordinates. Even though they were a little scared by Xing Hui's reputation, they still mustered up their courage and stepped forward. We're not doubting the chief. We just find it too unbelievable. Moreover, this concerns the future of the Life Moon Alliance and the lives of hundreds of thousands of our core circle. We have to be careful and seek the truth from the facts. If we've offended you with our words, please forgive us, Chief. That's right, we're just asking for peace of mind. If we've offended the chief, we're willing to accept any punishment. Very well. Is there anyone else? Xing Hui's gaze swept over the elders again. The heavenly devil cult master and the others acted as if the matter had nothing to do with them. The Moon Lake Master, on the other hand, had been itching to make a move, but seeing how the powerful son of chaos was so wary of Xing Hui, she didn't dare to act rashly before figuring out Xing Hui's true trump card. Thus, she decided to stick to the status quo. It seems that no one else has any more objections. After Xing Hui finished, his gaze returned to the 3 elders. Originally, I didn't have to explain so much with my status, but to show my fairness, I'll give you an explanation today. I've specifically sought out the level 9 sacred beast How Yu and formed a strategic alliance with it. From now on, the level 9 sacred beast How Yu will be the guardian sacred beast of the Life Moon Alliance. It won't harm our territories or warships. Furthermore, if the Life Moon Alliance is attacked by the 10 sacred sects, How Yu won't sit idly by. It will help us resist the threat from the 10 sacred sects and protect the safety of the Life Moon Alliance. Do you understand? After Xing Hui finished speaking, the elders of the Life Moon Alliance below him burst into an uproar. Even the heavenly devil cult master, Maha Sect Master, Zuyuo Holy Mother, Celestial Grand Sage, and other blue netherworld realm powerhouses widened their eyes. We formed a strategic alliance with the level 9 sacred beast Xuanwu. A level 7 sea beast is the true overlord of the seas, and a level 9 sacred beast is the overlord of the overlords. It's hard to find another overlord like this in the inner seas, and we formed an alliance with the Life Moon Alliance? How is that possible? In the eyes of the level 9 sacred beast Xuanwu, our Life Moon Alliance is nothing. How are we qualified to form an alliance with a level 9 sacred beast Xuanwu? Ling Yu, on the other hand, was well aware of Xing Hui's background. He was an important figure in the Celestial Dome realm, an invincible being in the Divine realm. A level 9 sacred beast was indeed very powerful. In the seas, only Almighties could fight against it. If it hid in the deep sea and did not show itself easily, even Almighties might not have the guts to chase it into the deep sea and kill it. However, in front of an invincible being in the Divine realm, even a level 10 sacred beast could be killed easily, let alone a level 9 sacred beast. With the power of the realm, the dark deep sea, which was called a desolate place for a Saint Realm powerhouse, was not much of a hindrance. A Saint Realm powerhouse could easily dive into the deep sea and kill level 9 or even level 10 sacred beasts. If Tsing Hui really borrowed the power of that Saint Realm powerhouse, it would not be difficult for him to subdue the level 9 sacred beast and form a strategic alliance with it. Ling Yu reacted immediately and shouted, "Alliance Master is so wise. Now that the Life Moon Alliance has the protection of a sacred beast, we don't have to fear the 10 sacred sects anymore. Under the leadership of our Alliance Master, the Life Moon Alliance will unify the Outer Seas and become the overlord of the Outer Seas." Today, I encountered something particularly depressing. My computer screen would crash from time to time, and there would be a very loud ZZ sound coming from the speakers. In less than 2 hours, my computer had crashed 4 times. Even though I had canceled almost all of my software, it was still the same. I don't know what the reason is, but because of the crashes, I have lost more than 2,000 words of original manuscripts. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.